And welcome everybody to Spiritual Warfare Friday with your hosts Dan Bidondi and Brian Reece. So what is going on, Brian? How you doing, man?
Not much, Dan. How you doing today?
Oh, pretty good.
Spiritual Warfare Friday, everybody.
Yep, awesome show coming up, guys. And it's a very interesting show. The New Babylon, the Resurrection of Nimrod. So we're going to discuss who Nimrod is and all that stuff. But it was basically, we're going to center this mainly around the Washington Monument. I've been meaning to do a show on this for a very long time here, and what the Washington Monument is about. A lot of people think it's about George Washington, and further from the truth, the original plans were scrapped from that. So, it's really crazy, man. You know that there's just so much involved, and I'm like so intrigued with it. Because not in a good way either. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's crazy, man. But before we go any further, guys, I want to go through the credits here, and I want to thank shakeandwakeradio.com for carrying the show on an awesome, amazing network, and also beforeitsnews.com, which I'm a contributor writer for them. So please check them out. The links, all the links, everything we talk about are in the description. So we're going to jump right into this, man, and because we got so much content. Now, before we get any further, guys, too, me and Brian want to just make a disclosure, right? So we don't mind taking phone. I love taking phone calls, but the thing is, guys, you really, 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 please, you can't mention the V word, okay? Anything medical or anything about the elections, right? You need to stop, put that out, because last week we had an awesome show. A couple of people mentioned those things. We had to literally cut the show down and put it back up, and we lost 400 hits off the video, and it was like 2 hours extra of work that me and Brian had to go through just to put the video back up so we didn't get flagged off YouTube. So, and the thing is, if you call and you talk about that, I'm going to cut the phone off. I mean, I'm just going to hang the phone up on you, nothing personal, but I'm not going to put up with that because I don't have time all night. Me and Brian, we got kids and stuff. We don't have time to deal with after hour productions and all that. No offense against anybody, but if we were on Rumble, we welcome that, but here, just respect the YouTube guidelines. That's all we ask you, because if you say anything in medical or down that route or election stuff like that where, you know, it's against community guidelines on YouTube, we're going to just hang the phone up on you. And also, just please be courteous at when you do call, try to make it brief. You know, we don't mind talking about, just try to make it brief. And if somebody's on the phone, just wait your turn to call in, whatever the case. We have to go strict by these rules here because, last week, me and Brian were, we thought the show was done and over with. We had to stay here for 2 hours extra just to edit that out, and we lost so many hits off the video we were doing. So, wanted to get that disclosure out. So, how you doing anyway, Brian? You have a good day today?
Yeah, it was a pretty decent day.
Yeah.
It was not too bad. Did a little gardening work out in the yard, and yes, I'm still gardening in September.
Hey,
you doing okay? You doing okay yourself?
I was just excited for this because this is information I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And here's the thing, guys. The information that I got here, I could sit here probably like 6 hours and at least about this one monument. You know what I mean? And I try to limit this as much as I can. So for a while, I'm going to bring up some things in here, and then Brian's gonna also jump in here and there. Then Brian's gonna take over later and just go through Google Earth and show you some amazing stuff, man. So before we get going, thank you, Uncle Obvious and Valerie, for moderating the chat room, guys. Bless you guys. And thank everybody in the chat room for joining in on us. And if you're watching somewhere on a third-party site, guys, sign into YouTube channel, join in the live chat, and we will take phone calls later. So let's get back into this here, the Washington Monument. So we're gonna go off the little subject a little bit, but we need to build up the base of what this is about. So the public thinks it's a monument to celebrate George Washington, but it's further from the truth. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And so this has a lot to do with the occult and Freemasonry. So if you don't know what Freemasonry is, it's a secret society. It's known, but it's still considered a secret society. But they have a lot to play with this in this whole Washington Monument. And it's all about this guy here. And they want to go back to the Tower of Babel. Back in the ancient days, 6,000 years ago, where they, built the Tower to Babel. Well, it was 3,000 years ago? I forgot what it was. But yeah, they want one world, one voice, just to take over the throne of heaven. That's what they wanted to do. And they're literally trying to attempt this today. You know what I mean? And a one world government, everything you hear on TV, New World Order, stuff like that. That's what this is all about. All the bases of the secret societies and the occult and at the top and everything is all based off this right here. And it's all centered around one man called Nimrod. And he's known as Osiris. He's known as many other names. And to reconstruct the modern-day Tower of Babel. You know what I mean? And we'll show you what this all has to do with the George Washington Monument. So I want to go through quick who this cat is here. And, in the minute, Brian's got to read from the scripture, the Bible's account of who Nimrod was. So you got Nimrod, his wife Semiramis, and his son Tammuz. So now there's a lot of different stories about this, but Nimrod, his wife Semiramis is said to be his mother. You know what I mean? His mother was a temple prostitute. When he became ruler of Babylon, he married his own mother. You know what I mean? And she claimed to have an immaculate conception with Tammuz, which the mother Madonna, which was a virgin birth, and that wasn't even true because she was a temple prostitute. She married her own son. Yeah, disgusting stuff. So Nimrod, his wife Semiramis, and his son Tammuz, who later on became the sun god Horus. So as you can see in Egyptianology, Osiris, which is Nimrod, Isis is Semiramis, and Horus is Tammuz. Yeah, I mean, and it's like a lot of stuff I want to debunk on this too, because you got movies like Zeitgeist. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Zeitgeist, where they try to say Horus had 12 disciples, walked on water. He did no such thing. And Isis had a virgin, immaculate conception to birth Horus. No such thing ever happened. You know what I mean? None at all. But this was ahead of time before Jesus comes, because again, they knew from the Garden of Eden of the coming of Jesus. So they tried every which way to stop it, cutting off the bloodlines, manipulating it. Then they tried this, Mother Madonna type situation here in Babylon. So, so Brian, if you got those Bible verses too, man, so we want to give a biblical account who this guy was. Now, mind you guys, this guy, Horus, okay, I'm sorry, Horus too, Horus and Osiris, right? That's Nimrod and Tammuz. These two are the the pinnacle of deities, okay, across the secret societies, at the very top of Freemasonry. When you first join Freemasonry, you come into the Blue Lodge. It's the first 3 degrees. It's mainly Christians and everything else. Then you don't start learning about the stuff until later on when you're in the Red Lodge. I'm going to talk about way up in the degrees. That you start learning about, centered around Nimrod and Tammuz and their resurrection, and also Semiramis as well. That the occult plays a big part of that, but this is what it's all about, guys. To resurrect this guy here, which is the seed of the Antichrist. You know what I mean? The bloodline of the Antichrist that's going to be resurrected, and which we believe he is. He's here today. But that's their goal. You know what I mean? When they went to the Middle East with these unconstitutional Iraq wars, they were going to tombs in old Babylon, digging up in I think it was the Pyramid of Giza. They believed that they said they got Nimrod's DNA, his remains. You know what I mean? So that's critical, man. And so what they're doing with the green singular technology, they're cloning things and all that, and they're gonna clone this guy probably. I don't know how it's gonna work, but this guy's gonna come back as like an Antichrist figure. You know what I mean? And not himself. It's Satan, the power there. So you got those verses, bro?
Sure do, Dan.
Awesome. So this is the most important, the biblical account of who Nimrod was.
Should be up now.
Yep, there you
okay,
go.
So this is Genesis 10, verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. That's Genesis 10, verse 9. And then I'll zoom in so it'd be a little bit better on the screen. And Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty upon the earth, be mighty upon the earth. And that's First Chronicles 1:10, KJV. And then I combined them all in this particular verse because I know I've already read the other one, but I wanted to combine them. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of the kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calon in the land of Shinar. And that's Genesis 10, verse 8 through 10. And then, this is the last one I have. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod, in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Syrian when he cometh into our land, and when he treaded upon our borders. Micah 5:6. So you mentioned something a minute ago, Dan. I was going to mention it earlier. I mean, later on in the broadcast, but hey, you went there. You said, he's got his body or whatever.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about that. So let's just get to the real quick. I'll only stay on it for about a minute or two because I know you guys get back on it here. We'll talk a little bit more back in the broadcast in the future here in an hour or so, but there has been some stuff that's been online and everything, and his pictures, etc. They're talking about they found him in a tomb. They've actually got authentic photos. I don't know if it's a hoax. I don't know if it's legit, whatever. And then I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but since that time in Iraq, there's been a lot. So if you look at the Tower of Babel and you look at CERN, look at all that goofy stuff they have. I'm just going to touch base on it a little briefly. But there was, once upon a time, I remember seeing an Illuminati card. Illuminati card, I know this is, well, it is relevant. It is significant, too. They had an Illuminati card, and literally, I'm pretty sure it had either the word Nimrod on it, or it had, like, a skull of some shape or form, like his head. And it looked like they put like in between a particle beam. And I'm just going to throw it out there, and we'll talk more about it in the broadcast, because I've heard a lot more about it, but I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in since you made that comment.
Yeah.
But get back to the scriptures. Get back to the scriptures. I'm getting scatterbrained this evening. So, I'm not even sharing still. Man, I'm just terrible host tonight. So,
it's a weekend.
Yeah.
Man.
So if you get back to Genesis 10 verse 9, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore he said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. So if you look at this, it's pretty telling too, because we always talk about this before we start the broadcast, the narrative about where he become a mighty man of old. He become a mighty man of renown. Gilbarim, what did he do to become a Gilbarim? And then, you see these depictions, what Nimrod depictions, what on hieroglyphs and stuff, where he's picking up a lion. I think I have that somewhere. But he's like picking up lions and stuff like that. And I can show that real quick if you want me to.
Yeah, that's also when you look at the star systems of Pleiadian and Orion. If you look at it, it shows a hunter with a lion. That's him. That's who. We're gonna get to that. Wait till you guys get into this stuff, man. The astrological stuff, man. It is beyond like ridiculous. It's fascinating in one end, and the other end, it's like, wow, these people are maniacal geniuses or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to show it real quick, and then I'll let you get back to.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to take the fire from you, man. He was burning it up. He was burning it up, Dan. So. But yeah, I just want to touch base on that since you mentioned that. I just wanted to, So the scriptures, and so one more thing before I stop talking and let you talk. So the whole Nimrod thing. So this is what really grieves me a little bit. So people in a biblical, a church setting or whatever, and especially around my area, some people will actually go up to debate and say there's no Nimrod in the Bible. Like, I have had that conversation with people that will say there's no such thing as Nimrod. There's no such, they get on that narrative, no such thing as giants. There's no such thing as Nimrod. There's nothing significant to it. That's not in the Bible. Nimrod's not in the Bible. And I'm like, it is. And then you can't argue with them, but they will deny that. They do deny it. Absolutely. I just want to put that in there.
Oh man, yeah, those people drive us nuts. The Sethite people too. It's like, it's there. It's like right in Genesis chapter 10. It's like, how do you get around that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Then they'll say, oh, it's probably figuratively. Why would they come up with a figuratively character that was the base of all secret society? He's the fulcrum point of everything surrounding us in the occult. Everything in the high levels of the occult, everything in secret societies is all based around Nimrod and Tower of Babel and those ancient teachings. That's what it's all in that ancient. And all where people think all these religions came from. All the hundreds of Eastern religions they're splinters of the same Babylonian religion. That's why they all have the same stories but different names, of course, for that same people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's all surrounded by these three cats. You know what I mean? Him and his wife Semiramis and Tammuz. You know what I mean? The so-called sun god, whatever the case. But yeah, it's all surrounded by that. So it just, that just grinds my gears, man. I tell you.
Yeah, just you just can't make this stuff up. Like I say all the time, you just can't make it up. When you say there's Nimrod in the Bible, and they deny you, you'll say, "Here it is." No, that's not. You must have a different version. You must have a different version of the JB.
And you could literally, you could, even much as I don't like the NIV Bible, you could literally go look in the NIV Bible. You'll find his name in that Bible. Every Bible, and then now today you could go to Google, right? And they have websites that have most of these websites, Bible websites, you can literally select any, you put a verse there, right? And you can select any version of the Bible. There's like probably 100 or whatever. And you find the same exact name. So there's no getting around that. These people just whacked. That's what they are. Selective reading, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So we go to this book here by Gary Wayne. Okay, I can't believe I almost forgot his name. So many names, but I had him on my show a lot, and so he was on NYS TV too. But his book, The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, this is like one of the best books I ever read, man, besides the Bible. The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, awesome book by Gary Wayne. So anyway, he in page 202. And I know a lot of you guys listening probably got this book here, but pages 202, he actually brings up the same verse, Genesis 10:8. This is his biblical account. You know what I mean? Cush was the father of Nimrod, who grew up to be a mighty warrior in the earth, and he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. And so before the Lord, it doesn't mean for the Lord. He was against the Lord. You know what I mean? And the book of Joshua, man, wow, chapter after chapter describing Nimrod and everything else. So. And he says, what is so important about Nimrod? And so, quite simple, Nimrod was the most influential and infamous individual in the early post-Diluvian, that's the flood, after the flood epoch. And historical ripples are felt to this today. So again, through the secret societies and everything else. So Nimrod was the son of Cush, which was the son of Ham in all likelihood. Nimrod was born within 70 years of the flood, since the Tower of Babel was built, and 101 years after the flood. And he was one of the few post-Diluvian pioneers told first-hand accounts about the epoch before the flood. In other words, he had the knowledge, the ancient forbidden knowledge that survived through tombs and everything. It's difficult to explain here in the short term that they did, because the Bible says it was Nephilim before and after the flood. You know what I mean? And that so-called sacred knowledge was preserved through that. You know what I mean? That's what the secret society go after today. And it says, what is sort of impressive is that the information imprinted on him, did Nimrod have a relationship or contact with a post-Diluvian Nephilim? So this is where he brings up the question, how did Nimrod, now he's the son of Cush, right? Cush was like the bloodline, traced right back to Adam. So this is a pure bloodline. So how did Nimrod, the only one in that family, how did he become a Nephilim? So what we believe, I believe that he had some interaction with one, and we can't say too much because of YouTube, but the genetic stuff and everything else that he ended up becoming genetically because he became a huge man. I mean, even all the ancient cultures and all that talk about him, the ancient Egyptians, they present this guy as this huge monster. You know what I mean? Like, he was a mighty hunter. He wasn't the same height as everybody else. He was a giant just about. You know what I mean? This guy was strong, everything else, and he became very wicked. I guess at first he was okay, and when we do the book of Joshua, he was okay, and then he became very corrupt and evil and all that stuff. So we go on to pages 63 and 64 in the Genesis 6 conspiracy. So let's bear with me a second. And so I think I got the right page, right? So I think I messed up on the pages, guys. 63 and 64. So basically, he was known as a Hermes too, because we hear about Thoth and Hermes and everything else. Mm-hmm. So,
real quick, Dan.
Yep.
Real quick, Dan. Just interject here. Yeah. I wonder if there was something he either got a hold of, or some type of artifact, or made something. Man, I don't want to say too much, but did something to alter his state, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then they become a Gilberain, but it was something of an artifact nature. That's what I think of. But
I wouldn't doubt it, man. I really wouldn't.
You know what I mean? Just want to throw it in there.
They talk about this Chamati stone that was all through history too. About this, they believe was when Satan was cast to the earth because he had a crown on his head, and when Michael the Archangel cast him, he swapped his sword to cast him to the earth there, and the chip, that stone fell off his crown, and they call it the Chamati stone. And
I think doesn't that have association with the? This is going to sound real wild, but have you ever seen the gauntlet that I know I hate to bring up movie references, but have you seen the gauntlet Thantos on the Marvel movies, and
Yep.
but he has all the different jewels. Well,
Yep.
do you know that there was actually a depiction of some shape or form in a gauntlet in the Vatican? They actually have a glove and actually have the stones. That's
Yeah.
where they got their inspiration from, Dan.
Yep.
You just made me think of it.
And they
I
call
don't
it
know.
their version of the Holy Grail. It's they believe it's a stone, and this is like deep stuff, man. And they believe that King Solomon had it. That's what made him corrupt and evil and everything else is the stone. But we can't confirm that. But that's one of the mysteries there that they talk about, the Chimati stone, which they were said that FDR possessed this and everything else, and every world ruler at the time and empires possessed this one stone. You know what I mean? So that's a whole new show altogether, man.
Yeah, we could do that's another show, but I just wanted to share that.
No, that's awesome, man. So Gary Wayne, he goes on to say the closeness of the Egyptians to the Hermes cult would suggest a close tie to the times of Babel and Hermes. Remember, the post-Diluvian Hermes was reputed to have Thoth that defied counselors to Osiris and Isis, two of the founding gods of the Egyptian religion. Hermes was further lavish with the honor of founding the Egyptian religion. He was the Egyptian priest of the highest order, and was considered the inventor of the sciences, and which is the seven sacred sciences, the bastardized version of them, which is 36,525 books of his knowledge, known as the religious encyclopedias, was stored up in temples in Egypt, and it was Hermes who elevated the Egyptians to speak with the gods. So long story short, he goes on to talk about from the Egypt, this new religious cloak draped over the corrupted sciences that the seven sacred knowledges. Now, if you look into the pillar, I'm saying when you go, you're into masonry, right? They show a set of stairs. There's 7 stairs, right? Each stair has a name on it, and it's the name of all the 7 sacred sciences, right? Now, this is what they derive off. So the stuff you learn in school, guys, it's a splinter lie off those sciences. You know what I mean? But they know the truth. You know what I mean? And a lot of the sciences are some of the truth, but a lot of it's twisted too. Then you're getting a diluted, twisted version of in the schools. You know what I mean? But what they know, you don't know. You know what I mean? And this goes back a lot. And this book here, Gary Wayne's The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, talks a lot about the 7 sacred sciences. And this is what all the secret societies highly go off of. That's why when you see again, bring up the flat Earth, they know the Earth wasn't a globe. They're not going to tell you that, though. They'll tell you in school a twisted version of the truth. Oh yeah, well, it's a globe falling into space. I mean, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? But these people, they know the truth, okay? But they twist it to their agenda. You know what I mean? So back to here, talking about the first religious order in Egypt. You know what I mean? And Osiris and Isis were used for this model in other pagan nations. Dimitri and Dionysus were the Greek counterpart. So we get into this here because people say Greek mythology, right? You got Demeter and Dionysus, right? They were the Greek counterparts. That's what the Greeks called them. The ancient Greeks called Osiris and Isis Dimitri and Dionysus. So Nimrod had many names in different cultures. You know what I mean? He was also known as Gilgamesh in some other cultures there. And so this book is awesome, man. And the Greeks of Eleusis called him Bacchus, and the Mayans of Asia, Minor referred him to as. Hang on a second, guys. And the Mayans referred to him as Phanomus or Apollo. You all heard Apollo, right? You got that Greek god Apollo, Mayan god Apollo. They're referring to Nimrod, you know what I mean? And he was also known as Gilgamesh, too. The Indians named him Dionysus. The Romans knew him as Liber. And the Arabians called him Adonis. So we heard about Adonis, too. If you study any of the Greek gods and all that, they're all referring to the same person. So they got these long pantheon list of gods that are literally just about the same people. You know what I mean? Narrowing down to those 3 people. Let me go back to the slides here. And Isis, Tammuz, and Horus. You know what I mean? So many names for these guys in different cultures. And they're known in Egypt and Babylon as Osiris and Isis and all that. And what this has a lot to do with the... yeah. Yeah, well, a lot to do with this. So we'll go to the George Washington Monument, right? So when the monument, we're going to get to some of the history of the monument too. So long story short, when I keep saying that, but it's not a short story. So when the monument was, we presented the plans to build a monument to represent George Washington in honor of him, right? So Congress, they ran out of money to do this. They didn't even come close to finishing the project, right? So the Masonic lodges took over the project. They funded the whole thing, and they completely scrapped the original plans for what the monument was supposed to look like. Nothing like this, okay? And they constructed this, in the heart of D.C., you know what I mean? And it's not a coincidence. From the ground up, it's 555 feet tall. People say, well, what's a big deal with that? Because in Egyptian numerology, 555 is death and resurrection. It's recycling of life. And the thing is, when you get to the gist of this monument, guys, it is a phallic symbol. It's a penis. Okay, I'm going to put it straight out like that. That's exactly what it is to resurrect Nimrod. Because, so I'm going to jump ahead of you. So let me go back to these guys, right? So basically, Osiris was killed by his uncle Shem, I think, right? And so Isis, and he was chopped up, thrown into the Nile, right? And his wife Isis, right? She went and collected all his body parts, and it was said, and I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, she found everything but his penis, all right? So she claimed to make this phallic symbol, and with his dead body, get pregnant with her son Osiris to get pregnant with Horus. You know what I mean? And then Horus was supposed to be the resurrection of Nimrod. He was also known as the sun god. So this plays a lot into the occult, and the occult, it's everything to do with sexual stuff. So excuse the language and everything else. So basically, this thing is a giant golden penis. It's called Baal shaft. Okay, Nimrod was also known as Baal too. He had many, many names, guys. And so this is Baal shaft, okay, plain and simple. So 555 is death and resurrection, but it doesn't stop there. So and Brian, actually, you want to pull up the Google Earth?
If you want me to, Dan, I will make it happen.
So wait till you guys see this, right? So it doesn't stop there. From the ground, because you can't just have a monument up like that. It has to be a support, a foundation for it. The foundation goes from the ground 111 feet under the ground, and you can actually go look this up, guys. It's all on record. So 555 and 1111, 111 is 666, 666 feet, plain and simple. You know what I mean? And so yeah, let me get Brian's screenshot there. And this is DC on Google Earth here.
Does it look like it's coming in okay, Dan?
Yep.
I circled just everybody in the audience on the circle that I got here. That's just for me. I marked that and did that little sketch on there for me. So just ignore that the white circle. But yeah, continue, Dan. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Go out a tiny bit. That shows like the monument, reflecting pool.
Yeah.
In the Capitol.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Talking about the Capitol.
Yep, right there. Right there.
Yeah, what that?
Oh, back up a little.
Back up, yeah.
And show you right there.
Boom.
So, guys, if you pay attention to this, right? You got the Washington Monument there, and then you got that reflecting pool with the Lincoln Monument. Now, right across the way is the Capitol building, right? Which is a dome building, right? So, let me pull this up here quick here. Let's see. And this is very...
I can turn it around too, get a better perspective if you want me to. If you want me to kind of get a better perspective of the water.
Yep. So I want to point this out real quick. This is inside the ceiling of the dome, the Capitol building. And it looks like heaven and all that. Those are it's a pantheon of all Greek and all kinds of pagan goddesses and everything. And gods. That's what that is. There's nothing biblical about that at all. So the reason why, and if you know what the Capitol building looks like, you want to zoom in on the Capitol building real quick too?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And if you don't know what it looks like, it's a giant dome building.
Well, if I can get my camera to work. It's all messing up on me, but I'll get it here in a second. Crud. Sorry about that, everybody. It's fried up on me. No, it's like glitching on me. I think I got too much running. Just bear with me. It's not wanting to... I have to shut something off. One moment. Just a moment.
Sorry. I'll just show a slide real quick. And that's what the Capitol building looks like. So basically, what this all means, guys, it's a giant sexual thing here. Now, and I don't mean to sound explicit with this stuff, guys, but that's what it's about. So basically, it's literally the reflecting pool, the Capitol building, and the penis, right? The Capitol building represents Isis's pregnant belly with Horus, right? So we're gonna get into this stuff, man. It's crazy, man. How the sun exactly comes right up over the obelisk, right? And then you could, when you seen it, when I had the obelisk up there, you could actually see the reflection of the sun. It's a giant sundial as well. You notice how it's in the middle of two circles. So, and a point in the middle of the circle in the occult means sexual penetration. That's what it is. You know what I mean? The union of the two sexes. You know what I mean? And that's what the Masonic symbol stands for too, a guy mounting a woman. It's all sexual and perversion in the occult. So basically what they're doing is sexually, resurrect a Nimrod. And this is right in DC, guys. This is insane. You know what I mean? And so basically when the sun comes up, this is what their belief is. When the sun comes up, right, the divine light of Horus, right, because he's supposed to be the sun god, right, erects Nimrod's golden penis and through the reflecting pool impregnates Isis's pregnant belly to resurrect him. It's a recycling thing, you know what I mean? And that's what the system was built on, you know what I mean? It is insane, really is.
I got it, Dan. I got it. I had to reboot my Google Earth.
Oh yeah.
It froze up on me. Here we go. You may zoom in on the Capitol building.
Yeah.
It's right here. And of course, I can get like paper mache, kind of like just flat tops and stuff, on this. But then if you go out east, you can get like 3D rendering.
Yeah.
It's just the best you can do. But I can probably but
well,
there's the dome that you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
And go right down the line. It goes right to the Washington Monument.
Yeah. So a straight shot. If you can look, here's what Dan just referenced, and then we can look at we can go on a big O. I don't want to say. It's a pyramid and everything
right down
else.
The line,
straight down the line.
Yep,
yeah. Straight down the Lincoln Memorial there's the phallic all the way to the United States Capitol.
Yep. So when the sun comes up, it shines right off the reflecting pool right to the monument, and it's supposed to literally impregnate Isis's pregnant belly. That's the occult nature of that. It's crazy, man. It really is. Like you say, you can't make this stuff up, man.
Just can't make it up. And the architect work too. If you look around, if you just see the lines where it makes the stars and stuff. So it just, you can't make it.
Giant
you just can't make it up.
Owl.
Yeah, it's all there. And just and this one was. I'll tell you what I see.
Yeah.
When you go to the White House, I'm not trying to be weird, but this is how I see it. So if you look at the White House here. And you see these lines here and these triangles. Let's go.
Yeah.
That represents, if you take the pyramid of Giza and you flatten it down, that's what you're getting. Although this side is not here where the phallic is, but these three lines here, if you pull it up like a 3-dimensional object, it would form a pyramid, an 8-sided pyramid. And then you look at the umbrella effect. You know how you got the symbolism with Knights of the Templar and all that with the cross. That's what I'm getting. That's what I see. And it looks just like it's been thrown down like an origami kind of narrative. You can pop it in, pop it out. I know it's just me, but I just wanted to throw it out there. So it's pretty crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, it is. And speaking of symbolism, I'm glad you actually jumped on that because here we got here next is crazy stuff, man. And so basically we get into this. Whoops, what did I do here? Messed up. So this next slide here is Masonic, Occult, and Symbols Illustrated by Kathy Burns. Me and David Carrico's got this book here, and a lot of us. So basically this is an awesome book exposing the occult and their symbols and everything else. So when we get into the book here, we got pages 191 here. Then it talks about this obelisk here. It says, let's observe another logo. Target stores use this point within the circle for the symbol. So remember I told you how the obelisk is in that circle. It's a point in the circle. As mentioned earlier, it's also in the Target logo too. The Target superstores. As mentioned earlier, this sign is a representation of a phallus, which is a penis, plain and simple. The obelisk, i.e. the Washington Monument, is another phallic symbol. With this in mind, it is quite interesting that the Target stores are helping to restore the Washington Monument. Yeah, they're actually, because there is a project going on for a while that, I think it was like 10 years ago, they needed money to restore the Washington Monument. So the Target stores were the ones, the biggest donors to help that. So they also have a punch-out paper where you could actually build your own obelisk. just a coincidence? I think not. You know what I mean? And so we got this other book here. It's The Secret Architecture of Our Nation's Capital. And this is by David Overson. This guy is an amazing cultic researcher, man. I want to try to get this guy on my show, man. But, yeah. This is some crazy stuff, guys, we're going to get into. And notes here that the main question seems to be is that the time related to the observation from the ground and from the considerable height of the monument, it is evident from the calculations in 33 below that whoever cast a chart to allow the rising of the speaker from, which we're going to explain all this, guys. I know it sounds alien right now. Spiker, which is a star, did so from the basement of monument and would be a benefit to a chart related to the building. So that's page 419. So hang on one second. Let me get my book here. And we're going to go to page 129 and to 131 to explain some of this insanity, as you see right here. So that's the star Spica in the constellation of Virgo. Okay, and it was 10:59 a.m. was chosen point to a particular star. So this is when they actually cast the cornerstone for the monument, and it's all astrological stuff here. So just bear with me a second here. And so we go to page 129 in this book here. And it talks about, and it says, in accordance with the Masonic practices, construction of the obelisk began on July 4th, 1848, with the ceremonial laying of the enormous cornerstone, which had been donated by the Mason Thomas Symington, who owned the quarries from which the monument marble was taken from. And the ceremony was conducted by Benjamin French, wearing a Masonic apron and sash George Washington himself had worn when he laid the cornerstone of the Capitol in 1793. And the monument of the ceremonial cornerstone laying of the monument has been preserved, and from this is a possible reconstruction of the foundation chart. And he's saying that he's already observed the moon and the lunar node were in Virgo at this moment. So the moon and this is all astrological stuff, man. And he goes, however, I should say that that were important astrological factors in play, so which we shall consider later. In many ways, it is a remarkable horoscope. It reflects the precision, the same sort of stellar magic that was practiced in the early Egyptian occult millennia ago. So one hope behind the Washington Monument Society's exertions that had been the structure which eventually reflect the idea of out of many one. That's why you get e pluribus unum on the back of the dollar bill, means out of many one. The society had nurtured the forlorn hope of the most Americans would contribute a small sum to the honor of memory of their first president, that's George Washington. This is the initial stages, contributions from limited to $1 per person. In the history of the fund and the monument, in some ways was sad. One, suffice the enterprise. Well, actually, I'm going to skip over this part because that's what I told you. The original monument was scrapped, and the Congress ran out of money and everything else, and the Masonic orders took over. So anyway, skipping ahead, the time chosen for the laying of the cornerstone is recorded in the most curious way. It is specified through it was given in astrological terms. The event remarkably as a cornerstone ceremony 150 feet above the city, and it was arranged for Saturday, August 7th, 1880 at 1 minute to 11 o'clock. That's 10:59. And this is a very specifically stated time, that implies the monument was chosen because of some precisely astronomical and astrological phenomenon. And so before I examine the implications of this time, I should observe that once again, that the day seems to have been chosen because of its Virgo links. And on this day, the three planets were in Virgo, the moon, Mars, and Uranus. And the monument, quite fascinating from the astrological point of view. And it's raising interest in issues and questions. And so in this book here, and I could go on for hours with this book here. This book here goes to the deep astrological stuff, and this is the gist of it. You know what I mean? And this is so bizarre. Okay, so they specifically choose dates, times, specifically on point, on time, and according to star calculations. Because now what's going on here in a spiritual warfare sense? With them doing this stuff, guys, it is bringing these seething demonic energies into this monument. And this is done this way. And people say, well, it's just stone or marble, whatever. How is that possible? Well, in the spiritual world, it's very possible. And, this is the occult we're talking about. These are not just people in the backyard playing around with cats and, little sacrifice rituals. These are the top world elite when it comes to these satanic rituals, which is exactly what they are, plain and simple. And you can see here, some of the Pleiades and Orion, this 33rd degree arc of astronomical interpretation there. And Washington on this is December 25th. This is what it looks like here. You got Pleiades and Orion, if you can see that in the background there, where my mouse is. Pleiades and Orion there. And this is the dog star Sirius. The blazing star they call in the occult. The blazing star, the dog star, is that giant star on the floor. So if you ever go into a Masonic lodge, you see the checkerboard floor. And most of the time, the altar is covered up. So basically when the blue lodge is out of there, they move that altar out of the way, and there's a giant star in the middle of the floor. That's the blazing star. That's called the dog star Sirius. All centered around this, and this dog star rises just like the sun, identically right over the monument, right over and perfectly in line with the monument, the reflecting pool monument and Capitol building. You know what I mean? And that is so. These people are literally geniuses, when it comes to this stuff, but in the wrong way, And to watch the monument at midnight looking down, reflecting waterway on Orion's belt aligns skyward to the Pleiades and the three sun-like stars. Pleiades and Orion. So what's the significance of Pleiades and Orion? We're going to get to that in a minute. And yeah, it's just simply amazing, it really is. How they, back then in the 1700s and 1800s, they built this whole city perfectly in line with the stars. And that, the thing is, they did this thousands of years ago in Egypt too. You know what I mean? And when the sun comes up, like I said, it comes up. I think that's the sunset. I'm sorry, the sun sets that way. And that's if you can see that too. That's the Washington Monument, right? That's Nimrod's golden penis, literally, and the dome building. That's why there's a dome, which we're gonna get to later, with the Vatican and everything else, and all these capitals with these monuments have a dome building. Because again, it's Nimrod's golden penis and pregnant Isis' pregnant belly. Plain and simple. You know what I mean? And so a few Bible verses about this. And in Job 38:31, and it says, "Can you bind the sweet influences of Pleiades or loose the bands of Orion?" What does he talk about? Because, a lot of people think, when they look up Pleiades and Orion, they're looking up a bunch of balls of gas and whatnot randomly floating through space. No, guys, these are luminaries, okay? If you know anything about biblical cosmology, that's why a lot of people in the faith, they can't understand this stuff. They think it's just figuratively because they think it's just random balls of gas as, the schools teach. No, not even clear. These are luminaries in the sky you're seeing. All right, and these are literally the bands of Orion and Pleiades and Orion, the 7 stars and the 3 stars. So this is, I got a star finder, you know what I mean? And you could actually look at this, right? So this is the Pleiades constellation. That's the mighty hunter with the lion. Who do you think that mighty hunter is? That's Nimrod. And when he died, they say he was cast to the underworld. And this is the gateway to that underworld, according to them. And that's why everything in the Masonic lodges, too, they call this the sign of the 3 stars and the 7 stars. And this is very significant. And that's why when you look in the scriptures, right, the scripture tells us about the bands of Orion. The influences of Pleiades and bands of Orion. How could they influence something if their balls of gas are running through space? What do you mean the bands of Orion? What are you talking about? Because if you understand biblical cosmology and also spiritual warfare, guys, you understand what this is. It is said that Nimrod was sent to this underworld to rule it. You know what I mean? Now, regardless if that's true or not, whatever the case, but this is not what you think it is, just a regular star constellation. This is an actual realm. And when you get to the book of Enoch, Enoch talks about this stuff. He's going to these realms that God showed him. Amazing stuff. That's why it's mentioned in the scripture. You know what I mean? Amazing stuff. And he said he made Pleiades. This is Amos 5:8. And God says he made Pleiades and Orion. He turns the shadow of death into morning and makes the day dark as night. And he calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out in the face of the earth. And the Lord is his name. You know what I mean? And there's so much information here. And that's a little bit big here. It's the same verse here. The Lord is his name. You know what I mean? And it talks a lot about this stuff. But again, back to Freemasonry, man. And and Brian can elaborate on this too, man. Freemasonry, this was all about, guys. The Freemasons were in charge of this monument. They're the ones who built it, structured it for one purpose only. It's nothing to do with George Washington at all. It's just a cover story. If they would tell the public, hey, we're building a giant penis, literally, I'm not gonna be soft here, a giant penis to resurrect a Babylonian god, a false god at that. The public would be like, yeah, get the heck out of here. Especially back then, 90+% people in this country were Christians. They would have shot them right out of there. You kidding me? If they would have found out what that was about, they would have been like, yeah, we don't think so. You know what I mean? So, it's a thing for George Washington and all that stuff. And so basically they want to, and they made this whole city structured that way too. You know what I mean? In this Masonic order to bring in and to hail the new Babylon. That's what this is about, the new Babylon. And they wanted to make America the new Babylon. So Sir Francis Bacon, a huge occultist, he visioned this land here as he called it the new Babylon. He called this the new Babylon. You know what I mean? And in this world, now check this out, right? The United States of America since its birth, right? And in the 1800s especially in the 1900s, right? In the 1900s, we became a massive superpower. Like the world has never seen before. We're the youngest country. And I mean, you got countries out there thousands of years old, hundreds of years old. But here we are, America, not even 100 years old yet. And we are a superpower. You know what I mean? We're like literally dominating the world. Now, 1900s, yeah. Now today, you look at us. You know what I mean? So they are building that new Babylon system. You know what I mean? And the Babylon system is everything you see here. And we could get so deep into this stuff, man. And everything about Freemasonry is to bring in a new world order. Regardless of what you get told in the Blue Lodges and the lower degrees, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? That God is an androgynous God. It is horrible. The religion is Kabbalah, plain and simple. And this, again, it all ties in together, goes back to Nimrod, goes back to the Tower of Babel. That's exactly what they're trying to do today, guys. And unfortunately, disgusting. We're supposed to be a Christian nation, guys. No. No, we are. That's why we are going through hell right now. We're being punished because of the idolatry, the garbage is going on in this country. Too much I can't mention for YouTube here, but yeah. And all based off of this, it's a sexual union, guys. It's disgusting. It's like the occult is perversion. It's a perverted image of everything God made. That's what it is, and it's being led by the highest order of Masonic lodges and the Illuminati and whatnot. And even though people laugh at it, but you can laugh all you want because those are the people laughing at you. Those are the people who are ruining your life. Those are the people controlling the World Bank, so controlling all the global. Well, I shouldn't say global, but the world leaders. You know what I mean? They're the ones in charge. And the Bible says they're going to be in charge just because the people answer only to Satan. All right? And they they have to bring these demonic energies, these statues, these monuments in to absorb these demonic seething energies to bring in Lucifer, bringing Satan through the Antichrist, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about, to resurrect. And when we get to the Statue of Liberty, too, it's all to do this, guys, all of it. And there's so many other monuments and everything else, man. It's crazy, man. And one more time, touching on here, and if you look back in the Masonic stuff, guys, they call it a tracing board in the Masonic Lodge, right? And you got these two pillars there. The two pillars you're looking at, where are we?
I've been asking that all day, Dan.
The two pillars you're looking at, and the tracing board, because it's your journey, okay, along Freemasonry to carve you into that perfect cornerstone. So you got two pillars, right? One with a moon, one with a sun, right? And that star at the top is called the blazing star. That's their prime deity, right? So who do you think these pillars are? Jachin and Boaz. And when you first get into Masonry, because Jachin and Boaz pillars were in the Temple of Solomon. So they want to rebuild the Temple of Solomon. So it appears to be biblical, sounds biblical, right? Nothing at all. It's totally opposite. They take biblical stuff and revamp it toward their satanic agenda. So this pillar with the sun is Jachin, and Boaz with the moon, right? That's not who they're portraying. That's actually Nimrod and Semiramis. And as Syria, them combined union is Tammuz, which is Horus. It's all, and that's why the checkerboard floor is as above, so below. Equality, duality, and the occult, and this is their journey. Okay, this is the stairway of heaven. Again, they take the stairway of heaven from the scriptures, right, which actually says ladder, not stairway. But yeah, they take it and pervert it into this occultic mysticism, man. And Freemasonry is like basically a mix of all the occult, like Hitler with his is Ariosophy. They mixed all the occult and the Eastern religions together, and that's what they do in Freemasonry. And that's why they tell you got to believe in a deity before you can become a Mason. And people who stay Christians and all that, they exceed, but they don't get as far as where you want. If you're in the occult, you skim right through the ranks of the Freemasonry, because that's where they want to carve you. To be that perfect cornerstone in their view, and to be illuminated with the eye of Lucifer, plain and simple. And we've done many shows on Freemasonry, which is in our playlist. But anything you want to add, Brian?
So when he was talking about the sun rising and setting and all that around the phallic.
Yep.
So here's my take on it. I'm looking at a ancient place that's like a Stargate or some kind of access point. That's the way I feel about it. I can't help it. It's some kind of gateway portal narrative. And I could add to it. I don't want to interrupt you because you're on fire tonight. And I'll just, whenever you give me the tools, it's an inside joke. Everybody in the chat. If it gives me the tools, I will continue on, and we'll touch base on the White House and everything. I'll get back in it. But my opinion, it's one big gateway system.
Yeah.
It's something we're missing on the spiritual, as far as Ephesians 6 narrative of dominions, powers, principalities. There's something we're missing here. And
it's just one cog to the wheel.
Exactly. And then especially where the water, see all the water that's around, and how close the phallic and the Lincoln Monument and all that is. Look how close it is to water sources. I'm not really buying it. I look at things totally different. Y'all know y'all know if y'all watch my stuff, and Dan, you think I'm out there.
And that
we're two peculiar people talking together now, hosting the show, man. It's been a blessing. So
and that whole reflecting pool also is a representation of the Nile too. I mean? And
absolutely.
So, when you ask yourself, what the heck does Egypt have to do with the United States of America? Everything you look around is pyramids and all this other stuff. What in the heck? You're like, how's the United States even associated with a country that's thousands of miles away?
Can I show Google Earth real quick,
sure.
And I'll show you a split second, and for everybody, for the audience, and I'll kind of show you this is kind of funny, but not really. And Dan, it kind of goes along with what you were just talking about, Orion. So if you get into Orion with his, he's got his arrow, his bow and arrow and everything, it literally looks like, if you look at this angle, you got the White House here, and then you got, obviously what we've been talking about in the broadcast with the obelisks, Lincoln Monument, and you see the stream of water, but then what do you see? It's a point. It goes to the United States Capitol, right?
Yep.
It's almost like a spear, if you think about it. I mean, I know I'm not trying to on spiritual warfare Friday. We're doing a decoding, but if you look at it, it looks like it's pointing to something.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So
it is shaped into a point too.
It's a point. So it's an arrow, right? So if you go over, look. I'm not trying to make this stuff up. I can't make it up. It does go and point to a location, but we can go there, but I don't want to go there right now.
I'll show that real quick too. There's the constellation of Pleiades and Orion, the hunter.
And absolutely. And then I've never really, there's ley line, you got a ley line in close proximity. It's kind of interesting how it's all just, I don't know. It's just, you just can't make this stuff up. But I wanted to point that out. Because everything I look at, architect work, it always associates with the Mazzaroth. And when you're looking at these guys, they're masters, the mystery schools and everything. But it's literally pointing. And if you can see the red line, guys, that's an indicator. This red line actually takes you to the Vatican. It'll lead you to the Vatican. I've got it marked. But it's curious. I love this kind of stuff. It actually makes me think about where it's pointing to.
And if you want to
hold my opinion,
don't exit out of that screen, because we're going to get to that in the Vatican in a few minutes here.
Yeah, and I think this arrow is pointing to something.
Yep.
But I want to stay here right now because I have a few things to talk about before we move any further.
You can see a pentagram right at the top there where the White House is, right? Right above the White House is a pentagram pointing down right at the White House, right? Down right there, the Capitol building looks like a pyramid with all CNI in it.
You can't make it up. So I was referring to earlier to the capstone on the Giza pyramid. It's missing. You got the pyramid, it's got the capstone that's missing, and you got an 8-star. So what I'm referring to earlier, see these lines? If you see these lines, and it looks like I was saying earlier with the Knights of the Templar, right? But if you pull it up, and that would be right dead center is it's the White House. So that would be the capstone. You got an eight-pointed pyramid. Even though the lines are not here, I know that's not there, but that obelisk would be filling in the spot, right,
Yeah.
where the arrow is and everything. But it blows my mind. It's like an opening. Like here's the pyramid sides, and this pyramid side is empty, and the phallic is like, it's going this way, obviously, toward the Capitol building and then the Lincoln Monument. But it's interesting how it's talking. There's a circle formation, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but I'll let you get back where you was on fire, man. So I just wanted to interject. It looks like a ancient Stargate portal, whatever you want to call it. It's a narrative that will hopefully the Father will reveal it to all one day. But that's my opinion. That's my
nuts,
opinion on
man.
it.
Like you can see the White House sits right on top of Babylon.
Yeah.
In the animation, if you seen the beginning of the show, we had this big ziggurat, which is like a pyramid, and right at the top there, you know what I mean? It's amazing, but it's all based off this stuff here, guys. All of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The entire earth is lying in the power of ancient Babylon and the spell cast by Nimrod and his mother. And thousands of years ago, these people thousands of years ago to being venerated all over the world by these occultists. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, man. And you got the Washington Monument, and it doesn't stop there, guys. I mean, if you watch a show me and Brian did a couple weeks ago on the monuments, I think it was me and Trey Harris from Course Correction Radio. We did a show on monuments. We brought these things up. You know what I mean? With the Statue of Liberty and all that, but these monuments are all over the world. You know what I mean? Right in the capital, London, France, right? Right in the capital, Washington, D.C., of the United States. Right in the capital of Rome, basically, the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica, right? And if you want to transfer over, before we get there, show the ley line if you can. Follow it right to the Vatican.
Okay, let's just all take a trip down the ley line.
Yeah.
Let's just get on the railroad track here. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. The railroad. Yeah, it might get flagged.
And it's crazy, too, how it is really crazy how all these things connect and everything across the world.
We're a little slow here. Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. So that red line is just a marker that I did. Let me share it, guys. Yeah. Let me share it. How about that? Hey, man, come on now, Brian. Get together. All right. So that's probably a good thing because I was all over the place. So the red line will take me straight to the Vatican. And Dan said he wanted to see the ley line narrative. So we're going to pop that bad boy up if we can. Here we go. There's a ton of them. But United States Capitol right here. And then we're going to follow the red line. This is what I made to indicate to give me a straight shot to the Vatican. And there's ley line. Look, this is this kind of stuff that you just can't make it up. All right. No. I mean, if you look at Italy and then you go to Rome and you look at this, it's almost, and you just can't make it up. There's a pentagon shape. I'm all about looking at shapes and stuff, and then the pentagon shape, and it kind of all points to Italy anyways here, but it's, here's Rome. We're going to the Vatican where it's pretty much a star fort where the obelisk sets on. So anyways, so this one's all, you get the 3D, you get the 4D narrative at Google Earth here. It actually looks really well. You can actually look like you can just stand on the plaza here, but here's the rendering narrative here. So we're going to roll with it, and you go ahead, Dan. I'm going to be the visual guy. Sure. It almost looks,
if you want to hold
it's a locking.
Hold that right there for a minute because I want to point this out too before we move into the Vatican, right? So basically what I was saying about America and Egypt, right? So the Bible talks about in Ecclesiastes 1:9, and it says, what has been done again, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. So this 1440 BC, this obelisk and all that. And by the way, pay attention to this obelisk before you go to the Vatican, right? This obelisk right here in ancient Egypt, right?
This is in Vatican. I'm in the Vatican. Okay,
so
cool.
They dragged one of these from, because this was the ancient city called On, the ancient city of the sun in Egypt, ancient Babylonian city, right? So they dug this up out of the sands. And they literally dragged one of these all the way into Rome somehow. And that we're going to show you that in a minute. And then, again, just real quick here, the Washington Monument, guys, if we touch on this here. From the ground up, it's 555 feet tall. 555 is symbolism for death and resurrection, right? And from the base of it, it's the ground under, it's 111 feet, right? So if you put 555 and 111, You don't need to do Common Core math to figure out that 666 feet done that way specifically, not a coincidence, specifically done that way to raise the Antichrist. That's what it's about, you know what I mean? And so back onto this, the Egyptian there, and that's exactly what we're talking about, guys. And right there in D.C., I'm sorry, right in the Vatican, right, and what you're seeing on Brian's thing here, that's St. Peter's Basilica, right? Now what you're seeing is surrounded by pillars and temples. Right, and you guys see a bunch of statues around there, all facing this. There's a pantheon of gods and goddesses, right? And again, none of them are biblical. They're all pagan gods and goddesses, right? What is this doing in a place that's so-called be a Christian church, which it's not, you know what I mean? Then you got that right in the middle. See that there's a giant circle. The whole thing is a sundial. The whole thing is a giant astrological sundial, right? The point in the middle of the circle is, again, the penis penetrating the vulva, you know what I mean? Plain and simple. Sexual union. You know what I mean? And you're seeing it right there, guys. And that whole monument right there. And of course, they put a cross on the top of it to try to falsely put a Christian coat of paint over pagan Babylonian garbage, you know what I mean? And this whole area, guys, and it's supposed to be a holy Rome and all that. There's nothing holy about this, guys. And if you look at it, right, that looks like, remember the old-fashioned skeleton keys?
Yeah, right here. Let's turn around. I'll turn around for you, Dan. Gives you a better perspective. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it looks like one of those keyholes. And guys, that's a spiritual gateway to hell, if you ask me. That's exactly the key to hell right there.
Absolutely, Dan.
There's a lot of rumors, too, about under the Vatican, too, over there, what they got, the tombs and all that stuff they have there. But, yeah, that's what that is. That's an astrological gateway, guys, a spiritual gateway, a portal.
Well, if you look, it's... still, here we are again. The phallic would be the capstone, and you would have 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be still 8-sided. If you pulled it up, it would make a pyramid. Let's just get real with it. I mean, if you pulled it up, it would make a pyramid. If you took the phallic, it would make some kind of representation of some type of pyramid. It just makes me. And then don't forget, this is an actual star fort structure here where the Vatican is. This is all a fortified star fort. So. This is old architect of Starfort. I know you guys. I hope you can still see it. I hope it's still sharing.
Yeah.
But it's a fortified Starfort. I mean, you can get into Tartarian technology. Too. Yeah, and you got the dome.
Oh yeah, the dome, right? Yep. Yeah, another dome. And look right behind it. There's the obelisk right there.
Yeah. So it's Look at it. Look at it, Dan. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look how perfect it is. Look, this is the top of here. This is the top of the dome, and now this I guess the piercing of the veil kind of narrative when you look at it. And it's a straight shot when you go and look in the lock and key and you go walking down the path. Just look at it, Dan. I mean, it's literally perfect in circumference. Look at that. I mean, it's just lined up perfectly flush. I mean, you can't make it up.
And check this out, right? And remember we told you about the Capitol building, right? So I think it was Leonardo da Vinci or somebody painted some imagery up here inside the St. Peter's Basilica, the dome, right? Again, you look at it, it's like, oh, well, it looks beautiful. It looks like heaven and all that. Yeah, that's not heaven, guys. Those are just like the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., right? And the dome and the ceiling, right? Those are pagan gods, and there's a pantheon of pagan gods and goddesses. Nothing biblical about this stuff. You know what I mean? And how many so-called Christians go here? Millions a year. Mm-hmm. Go here millions a year to think this is a holy place, guys. This is the holy place of hell. And unholy place, I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
It's harmonics too. Speaking and being in there and speaking.
Yep.
In different languages when you're there, because there's a wide variety of people there that's speaking all kinds of different languages, Latin, American, whatever, whoever's tourist, right? So the dome does a frequency. All this Tartarian nature it's all based off harmonics. I know it sounds wild, everybody, but it's got a harmonic frequency, and it does something to activate. I'm not trying to be weird. But it's some trippy stuff. I mean, we can look, Diane. If you go over just a little bit on to the right, that's this place right here. It's like the Alo, or this place is where they have the serpent. If you can see my icon moving around, I don't know if you can or not. This is the snake head that they all have. They all, gather to watch the Pope talk, but it actually is a snake.
Oh,
the architect work, it's a snake head.
The inside of it right there.
Yeah.
And nobody could tell me that doesn't look like a snake head right there. This is legit inside this hole.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot it's let me see what the name of the hall is here. Does it say what the name of it is on Google Earth?
It's called AULAPAOLO, I think.
Huh.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce. Yeah.
And look
I'm
at
pretty
this
sure
too, with the Pope stands. I mean, he
Yeah.
sits there, right? And they said it's supposed to be a depiction of Jesus. Does that look like Jesus to you?
No.
Coming out of the sea, that's Dagon. That's the sea god. That's why he wears that dumb hat. You know, the fish of Dagon.
Yeah, if you look at this, the Draco, so this symbolism with the Draco constellation that leads back to the Serpent Mound, that's a whole nother topic in itself when you get into the going back to America. But this snake head and everything is representing something, right? And it's phenomenal that it's built on the Star Fort, like the Star Fort architect work. And the key, this has to be another. I'm not trying to be weird. I just can't help it. This is the way I see things.
Yeah, go for
It's
it.
a gate. It's a gate, man. It's a gateway.
Yeah.
It's a serpent. It's a gate. It's just, that's all it is. It's a spiral. There.
I
You
think
hear
it's
about
called
all this
audience hall.
Yeah, that's correct. But you just can't make you can't make it up. And then the energy of people and their human essence when they're in there talking and worshiping, like they all meet in the plaza, right? And it harmonizes with that phallic. And I'm not trying to be weird, but that's just how look at the dome, the structure, it outside the plaza, the whole wall. It's a frequency standpoint. It changes whatever it does. And these two little pillar things that's on the side here, we can take pictures, these little fountains.
Yeah.
And this looks, I'm gonna bring this up later on, Dan, and I'm gonna let you continue on. But if you look at the aerial view of this, I don't care what anybody tells me, that's CERN. That's a depiction of CERN. That's exactly, looks just like it.
Yeah.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up. And I'll go and I'm gonna talk about that here in a little bit. So continue on, Dan. You're doing awesome.
Actually, hold that picture right there for a minute, and I'm gonna compare it to CERN. Look at the.
Oh yeah, well I'm gonna do that if you want me to. I can actually take you over it. I actually have an overlay
like I got
and everything.
the slide right here.
Oh, take the picture. Yeah, take the picture of inside the.
So take a look at Brian's
screen
for a minute, right? And that's St. Peter's Basilica with the obelisk, right? Now look at CERN. The circle inside the CERN. Yeah, not a coincidence, guys.
Yeah. They built the architect work because CERN was built on a place that 450 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
That was built, an ancient village that was built. They was worshiping Apollyon, Abaddon. So look who we got here. Look at the evidence. I mean, it's right there in your face. You can't make it up. You just can't make this stuff up.
Right. Exactly. So I want to focus more on here on the obelisk there. And it's all tied to, the same thing with the Washington Monument and, the phallic symbols. This one's not 555 feet tall, whatever the case, but look at where it is, guys. And if you look right at the top of it, it's got a cross on top to disguise.
I can zoom in, Dan. I can zoom in if you want me to get it. I can really render it. I can zoom in right in on there for you. Yeah.
Even better.
How about it, Dan? Yeah, right there, man.
Actually, that's actual satellite right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, but please, Bob, go ahead and do what you're doing. I just wanted to tell you that I had it up.
No, I'm glad you're honest because exactly where we're going. And so they throw a cross on top of something. You don't even think how much blatant is, there's a spit in the creator's face. To me, I don't have a cross. I don't use crosses, whatever, because I don't believe in symbolism at all. But a symbol that's supposed to be Christian, right? Which is the mocking Jesus Christ with that, by the way. And they put it right on top of Nimrod's penis. Like, what more way can you smack Father across the face? And all the people right there, too, right? All those people gather to watch the Pope come out on that balcony. And right in the middle there. Comes out on the balcony and makes these speeches. And you got thousands of people crammed into this, probably 1 million, all crammed in here to hear this Pope speak. And, and you see the line right there? From the obelisk directly to the middle, and right where that middle porch where he comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's blessing the 7 hills of Rome, and like the Bible talks about the Antichrist of the harlot. You know what I mean? And he's paying patronage to this monument. You know what I mean?
I want to bring something else too.
Yep.
The doors are gigantic. So let's just get back to the giant narrative. How about that? The doors are gigantic. So let that resonate in your mind when we're talking about Nimrod. What are we actually looking at here, Dan?
Oh yeah, we're looking at like again, if you can see the door in the middle, right?
I'll take it to it. I'll
Oh
take
yeah,
it to it, Dan.
right above there, right
Heck,
above
I
the
might just
door.
be able to take you inside. There for a
Go
minute, I
above
was
the
getting
door
ready.
for a minute, with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
balcony where the Pope
yeah.
comes out.
There. Oh, okay. I'm trying to, but I think they heard me talking. They don't
Oh
want me
yeah,
showing this. No, but yeah,
yeah, right over there, man. That middle part, the Pope comes out there, right, and he stands on that
hmm
balcony, right. And if you could turn around facing the other way.
oh yeah. Like we're gonna get a view like he would. How about that?
Yeah, you got a sea of people, like all to see this, right? And meanwhile, he's facing directly toward that nasty, disgusting monument. This Babylonian, sick, perverted monument, right? Which is where he's getting his, which I believe he's getting his energies from. I really do, and that's what it's all about. Their whole focus is around. He's just the front man. The whole focus is around Nimrod. The whole focus is around the Antichrist. You know what I
I
mean?
think this is how they channel the Gilberim
Yep.
energy. It's like an incubator.
Yeah.
But I digress. I digress, Dan. I'm just going to continue on.
No, go for it, man.
It's like a big incubator. That's just the way I feel about it. It looks like it's a, you know what I'm saying? It's a depiction of Osiris, the mother's womb, all into one, piercing the veil, and it's a big incubator. And people do not know what they're doing. People
Yeah.
are foolishly do not understand like gateways, portals. I mean, just like we did last week, the Project Stargate. They don't understand it. They've been lied. People have been lied to about things,
Yeah.
right? And the architect work doesn't lie. Why would they
Nope.
have this? Why is this even here? This has nothing to do with Jesus. This has
Nope.
nothing to do with our Father in heaven. This is nefarious things with the Nephilim or the ancient, as far as the fallen angels. This has all that architect in a nice little package, but it has Tartarian narrative too, which is kind of sickening that they keep this. This place looks immaculate. We got places over here in America that's fallen down that's 5 years old. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying.
It's just so satanic too. And a
Yeah.
cross, yeah, you're right. Somebody in the chat room said a cross is a symbol of death. Well, exactly, it is, and that's why I don't wear a cross. I mean, years ago I used to, but I don't wear anything like that no more. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't believe in any of the symbolism. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
this is crazy. This is just satanic as it comes, guys. This is, look at the on top of the Vatican, right? Look at those statues of people. Those are pagan gods and goddesses. Roman
Absolutely.
gods and goddesses, which are the same thing. You know what I mean? Roman pantheon of gods. And
Yeah, and they have
adoring
Anunnaki.
Nimrod.
Sorry, Dan. Yeah.
Yep, the Anunnaki, yep. And they're all
They have
adoring the
Anunnaki
resurrection
at
of
the
Nimrod.
correct.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's just so much in this
there was a
stuff.
delay, Dan. I'm sorry. Go
That's
ahead.
all right. And not to mention, too, when you're on the ground, I don't know if you can zoom on the ground. Could you see the symbols on the ground? Because there's symbols of
Like
like
right here at the
Roman gods
plaza?
and all that.
The plaza? At the plaza?
Yeah, like on the ground, there's little symbols, in the stone there.
I don't know if I can get in there. I don't know if I can get you in there or not. Maybe I can. Heck, hey, Dan. Let's just go there, man. Just
But
yeah,
all over
I
the
don't know.
places, like all kinds of symbols and carvings. Whoops, let me get to. All right, sorry. All kinds
Yeah,
of
so
carvings
they're
of these Roman gods.
yeah. So there's a kind of a just a depiction on what what me and Dan have been talking about. People gather here.
Well,
Was there like thousands and thousands of people show up?
oh, they all cram in there, especially when the new pope
Yeah,
is crowned.
yeah. And look, that's all the people you're talking about on the top right there. If you can
Yeah,
see all the characters, and they're pointing down and
all
waving
surrounding
at
the
them.
obelisk, huh? Isn't it
Yeah,
amazing the
exactly.
whole adorning the resurrection of Nimrod? That what baffles me the most, man, is how many good, and I'm not bashing Catholics, I'm bashing the Catholic Church, you know what I mean? How
hmm
many good people, and I used to be Catholic too, you know what I mean? How many good people go to this place, truly believe in their heart this is a holy place, that it's a place of God and everything else, and they aim to go to Rome like the Muslims aim to go to Mecca, right? And,
hmm
they go to these places, and, they're good-hearted people, they go to these places, and they're adorning satanic crap, you know what I mean? Plain and simple. That's exactly what that is, man. And
Yeah,
my father's side is all Italian, you know what I mean? And they all talk about the old country and Rome and all that. And people want to go to Rome to the stadium, you know what I mean? The Gladiator Stadium. Why would you want to go see that? Thousands of Christians were killed in that thing, you know what I mean? In this Vatican place, man, we have no idea what the godless stuff that's happening to this day in that place right there. Underneath too, especially there's a giant city underneath that place.
I'm wondering if this street here that leads up to the obelisk, I'm wondering if you can take a DeLorean at the end and start at the finish line, and, like get up to 88 before you hit
Get the
the
lightning rod
phallic.
over there in the church, or the bank, whatever. The
Yeah,
clock
let's
tower.
see if you. I think you can get up to 88. I think you can get up to 88 there. You can probably get up to 88. Probably hit that. Probably hit it dead center. I just had to be. I had to joke around. We're getting into some deep stuff. I had to kind of throw some comedy at it.
Is Doc Brown hanging from the clock tower?
Yeah, it kind of does look like that tower. I mean, it kind of does have that depiction kind of going on. But
Yeah,
anyways,
that's
yeah,
crazy though. Like that, just like the crap that goes on there. It's just, and the saddest part about it is everybody there, they're all adorning the Pope, and they have no idea the whole thing that the whole satanic agenda is standing right before them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you actually, I don't know if you can zoom up on the obelisk, but there's symbols all over the obelisk.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I think I can. I don't know if I can get you that quality, but we'll try to get you something. How about that?
Might do got pictures here.
Maybe just go up right there on. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah, that's the best I can do, Dan.
Yeah, this obelisk, guys, they actually dragged this from Egypt. I don't know how they transported it, like probably on wagons back then, whatever the case. But yeah, this was dragged from the sands of Egypt, the ancient city of the sun.
I don't think they dragged them, Dan.
Yeah,
I don't think they dragged them. Yeah, if you look into Raphaim and Nephilim, they had sound. They used sound and all kinds of levitation with that when they build in different structures and monoliths and stuff, megalithic stuff. And I'm not too sure. I don't know. I mean, they could use boats and stuff. I get it. I mean, that's not too bad, but I know that thing has to weigh tons and tons of weights. I mean, but it was probably a big operation. Yeah.
I can only imagine. And then there's more pictures here. It's unreal, man. And here in the Vatican, and then you can once again back to DC real quick. You know what I mean? And,
let's go back to DC.
They got these center structures, right? And people come from all over in Europe to go to this Vatican place, and people in the United States. And it's weird too. Every time the Pope is, he has a whole situation, right? Every time the Pope, right? If there's a new Pope or the Pope goes away, whatever the case, right? They center around the obelisk, right? Now what happens when the president is elected? The whole place is filled up with people, just like the Vatican, right? With the monument right there, all facing the Capitol building. Isn't that weird? You know what I mean? The coincidence of that? I mean, the similarities?
Yeah.
The Pope stands up in the middle of that window, right? And the whole sea of people look at him, right? Over in D.C., right? The president's right in the front steps of the Capitol, right? The whole sea of people look at him. And as both of them have Capitol buildings, dome buildings behind them, right? The leaders have behind them the Capitol building, and in front of them directly is the obelisk. People of power, world power. You see the dimensions of this now, the significance of this.
Well, they do a ritual at the inauguration.
Yep.
Don't they do and harness the Osiris spirit into the? I mean, it's in the books. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. They're harnessing the Gil. Let's just get real. It's the Gilbarim, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with the incubator. And they're harnessing people for worship. People worship. They're going up there and touching the phallic, and they're having a big old, let's just say here in Kentucky, a big shindig. We're having a big old, celebration, right? But they don't know what the nefarious things that trace back to ancient Egypt. That's just the way I see it. I mean, it is what it is, Dan. So, yeah. Have you heard that before? Where they do the inauguration, the night of the inauguration, they take them and harness the Osiris spirit, do a ritual. It's just the way it is. So, you know what? I don't know. It's crazy.
Let me see if I get president.
But, yeah, I'll continue on when you're doing that. But, yeah, and I have something to say about CERN. You let me know, Dan, because I know you got a lot of content there to throw at, and I don't want to interrupt you too much. But I have, and this is the same. So, okay, real quick, everybody in the audience. So the architect work, just like this is a bigger scale. Like the Vatican. Like the Vatican had the obelisk in the middle. The White House is in the middle in this sense, but if you see the lines, like I was mentioning earlier about the pyramid, they're bigger here. And this would be the depiction, similar to what CERN, what Dan had up on earlier on his, when he was sharing the pictures of CERN. It's just a bigger setup. But
Oh, yeah,
You
check
know,
the,
I don't know. Go ahead, Dan.
oh, so, yeah, before you jump into the start, I want everybody to check this out so we can finish this portion up here.
Yeah, go ahead,
Uh,
Dan.
so when I was talking about this, right now, the president's inauguration, right? He stands right there, okay, right up here, right, facing a crowd of people, right, all the way back there, and guess what's right there? And behind him is this. Look, what's behind him? A dome building, right? The Capitol,
The
right?
same thing.
In front of him directly is the Washington Monument, right? The obelisk, Nimrod's golden penis, right? And all the seas of people, right? Now look at here. In Rome, the Pope is doing the same damn thing. You know what I mean? Excuse my language. Uh. So the Pope's right in the middle, facing the obelisk, and the dome building right behind him.
It's a tuning fork.
Yeah, and two men of the world powers right there, guys. Two of the most powerful men in the world, the Pope and the President of the United States. Look, and you want to tell me this is not New Babylon, guys? They're bringing the New Babylon over here, old Babylon here in the Vatican, and New Babylon here in America. Doing the same thing. You can't make this up, like Brian says, man. Again, the president's he's standing right there, right in front of the Capitol building, right, with dome behind him, facing the crowd of people, facing directly straight up on the obelisk, right. And again, the Pope doing the same thing. He's at that little balcony, right, and the dome right behind him, facing directly toward the obelisk.
Well, they knew this. They knew this in the look. If we can get into really some deep stuff, but for the sake of time, I'll just say for a few seconds, like the Tibet, the monks, they know a harmonization of them, of their their chants and their humming and stuff and their vibration, all this stuff. You can get all kinds of different cultures, but the tongue and their different types of the harmony that comes out of their tongue. So the speaking of I don't know. It's just hard to explain it all, but it does make me think on that line of the ground, the architect work, ancient Tartarian, ancient Babylon, ancient Egypt, way probably farther back than Egypt. We can go a little bit further back. But anyways, it all just you just can't make it up.
No,
it all just lines up. It's just all lines up. I mean,
and, this last book we're going to go through, guys, it's called Mysterious Monuments by Tex Moz, the late Tex Moz. Awesome pastor, man. I had the privilege to have him on my show many times. He used to send me all his books for free to review them. It's awesome. But thick textbooks, man, I tell you. So basically, this is a encyclopedia of secret Illuminati designs, Masonic architecture, and occult places here. So on the page 328, guys, and you still could get these books, guys. I would definitely order these books. You know what I mean? But Mysterious Monuments, page 328 says the significance of the strategic placement of the Washington Monument and the other well-known obelisk idols is also easily understood. So one stands in the center of London, another in New York City, another in Paris, and yet another in Rome, including the Egyptian obelisk standing in the midst of the sun wheel in the Vatican, as we just pointed out there, the Vatican Piazza before St. Peter's Cathedral. And the meaning is clear. The Illuminati idols signify that Osiris, Nimrod, Satan, and his son Horus, the Antichrist, reigns supreme over the planet Earth, and nowhere neither in Washington, D.C., nor Paris, France, Rome, London, and or even at the Vatican, is there a peep or a whisper or a protest at this incredible blasphemous demonstration of Satan's global power and dominion. In America and Europe, cemeteries and graveyards are filled with these obelisk monuments, and countless obelisks have been erected in city and town squares, in the lawns of town halls and public buildings all across America. And truly today, America has become the land of the obelisk, dubious distinction indeed, which I call the New Babylon. And page 328, he says, the word images in the Bible is translated from several different Hebrew words, and one of the words, Mazabah, means standing images or obelisk, right? So 1 Kings 14:23 and 2 Kings 18:4, 23:14, Jeremiah 43:13, Micah 5:13. In other words, Hamonin, which means sun images. Images dedicated to sun or obelisk, and that's Isaiah 17:8 and 27:9 for references here. So I should actually brought all these verses up, but those are the references about these things. In order for the obelisks to carry out their intended symbolism, they were placed upright, erect, thus point up towards the sun as a symbol of the phallus, again the penis, the erect position, also had an obvious significance. Bearing this in mind, it is interesting to notice that when the divine judgment was pronounced against the false worship, it is said that these images, obelisks, shall not stand up, but would be cast down. That's Isaiah 27:9 when he says he's going to cast these images down, these idols down, right? And when the Israelites mixed heathen worship into their religion in the days of Ezekiel, they erected an imagery of jealousy, right? And an image of a temple. And Ezekiel 8:5, the image was probably an obelisk, the symbol of a phallus, for as Schofield says, they were given over to phallic cults, placing an obelisk at entrances of temples and autumn and other front of the temple, Hathor, and abode in Horus. So this is some serious stuff, guys. And people, like, I just hope now people have a different outlook on these things. I mean, because millions of people go by these, have no clue what they're looking at. And when we talk about the graveyards, guys, if you ever go through a graveyard, you'll see, now you got to see, you know what I mean? You go through a graveyard, right? And you got to see tombs or, gravestones, right? These obelisks everywhere. Those are put up because when a Freemason dies, the lodge pays for the gravestone. And it's either a tomb or an obelisk, right? And I say this all the time. When I go by a graveyard, I play a game called Can You Spot the Freemason, right? So you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see them everywhere. And now you see this stuff. So when you go by a graveyard next time or a Capitol building, something, you got to see these everywhere, guys. And these things, nothing what they portray to be. We have one in Providence, Rhode Island. I got a slide somewhere in here. It's supposed to be commemorating the Korean War. It's a Korean War Memorial Park, right? But there's a giant obelisk. This thing's hundreds of feet tall. A giant obelisk, just like the Wash Monument almost. Not as big, of course, not even near as big. But also, it's centered around all that. You know what I mean? And they got the same thing. They got pillars. These Roman cathedral pillars and everything else. And yeah, it's crazy, man. Right in Providence, Rhode Island, man. And they're all over the place. And I'm sure Brian's got on his Google Earth there, he's got, like, he'll show you a bunch of them all over the world.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to show you a little bit of a perspective. So are you is it okay, Dan, to show some more show and tell?
Sure. This is fun.
So,
stuff.
Well, this would make a good show. We could make 4 shows out of this, but let's just go ahead and let's just make the bombshell narrative. This is what I was going to try to show earlier. We're going to go back to Washington. Hopefully my screen will share it, and I pray that I've got it set up. I want to show you where I'm at in my mind, and hopefully everybody understand where I'm going. So just hang on to your seats, folks. This is crazy stuff. You just can't make it up, Dan. You ready? You ready, Dan?
Ready to rock.
All right, let's do it. Are you sure? Because I don't want to. If you had more stuff to talk about, I
got some slides of places. Same thing.
We'll look at the obelisks. We'll look at the obelisks. We'll look at some more, but I have to share this.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Hang on to your seat, Dan. Just hang on. What do you see here? Yeah, I know you got a 30-second delay here, but yeah, the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why I call it.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. So, and I just totally messed it up. So here we go. You can still see it. So here's the White House.
Yeah.
Okay. White House, and there's the figure 8. There's the Ouroboros, and the snake is in the White House. It eats its tail right here, the Lafayette Square, the White House South Lawn. There's the 8, and guess what? There's the eclipse. That's another depiction of the Ouroboros. And you know what this means in the 8? It's infinity 8.
Yep.
And it's to do with time. Hello, everybody. So if you want to get into stargates and portals, what we've been talking about this evening, I just wanted to kind of throw a comparison screen up to show you an aerial view with the figure 8 and this eclipse. I know that I found that on the internet, right? I just found it while I was doing this broadcast. But my point is, I'm going to go somewhere else and show you a comparison just like this, and it's going to blow your mind. I showed it some more on another channel that I don't want to talk about on here because he probably don't want me to say it. But there's another channel that I did kind of nothing to do with Washington Monument, but I did another figure 8 to do with the Infinity 8 and all that. But we'll go over that. I just wanted to kind of show you all where my mind is. So it's kind of crazy, isn't it, Dan? It's crazy.
This is like, intriguing stuff, man, I tell you. And
You can get. Can you see it really good?
Yep.
Can you see it? Because I'll move that sharing. I forgot everybody. I got that
And
stop
it's
sharing.
that circle at the bottom, guys, with the snake. If that looks familiar, right?
Yeah.
That looks like the Firefox logo. That looks like the what's that? Bell Labs, Lucent Technology. They got the same symbols on their phones and other products they sell. Yeah, it's not a coincidence, guys.
Yeah, I mean, and then see what I'm getting at is a capstone.
Yep.
CERN. And we're going to go there, and I'll show you a darn good, almost interpretation of this somewhere else, and it's almost dead center. And then where it says eclipse down there, it's just this stuff just unbelievable. Like you really, like I said a bunch of times in the broadcast, you just can't make this stuff up. No. But I wanted to show everybody that for just show and tell and kind of get where my mind is. So there you go.
I'll go for it if you want to go that place.
Okay, yeah, I'll go for it. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, okay. I just didn't want to interrupt you. So
no, I'm all done basically with my presentation part.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay, cool.
So now we can just show the obelisks and all that, and go.
Okay,
have fun.
So we'll show more obelisks, but before I lose,
go for it. Yeah,
where I'm headed here, but we'll definitely just remind me. So you got the figure 8, the infinity 8 here. So let's go to where Dan me has been talking about. Let's go to CERN. I have an overlay for it. It's kind of odd. So it's just like a paper, like a printed out piece of paper. It kind of looks, it's just rendered on top of the Google Earth. But it kind of gives you the perspective of the Hadron Collider. And let's not get into that. But that's the size of where the Hadron Collider is, 300 feet or whatever. I think it's 300 feet under the ground. But I wanted to show you all that. And then if you go down, let me see if I can eyeball it. Okay, so
we actually did a show on this too. Me and you, right? I think we did a whole show on CERN.
Yeah, so here's the concept. So here's where I'm at. So if you look, once again, it's a little bit smaller.
Oh yeah.
And I know that I've lost my slide. Well, whatever. That's how I roll, man. 1 second. There we go. So here you go. So this is the CERN facility, right? And this is basically the power unit that runs the whole thing, right? But wait, there's more, Dan. So you got your figure 8 here. It's a smaller circle. I get it. But there you go. It's still the figure 8. But here's the kicker, Dan. Did you know there's a dome? Looks just like the Vatican. And you can't make this stuff up, right? Wow. And it's right. Let me see. It's right here. There you go, Dan.
Wow.
There you go. There you go.
Boom,
man. Boom. Right. So like when you're looking at it, this is the CERN facility, and this is what they do. This is what I'm saying, and I'm trying my best.
What's that right there? Is that a stack right there? That long thing?
What's that right here?
That long thing next to the dome.
Oh, this is actually a crane.
All right. I'm like, wow.
They're doing a little remodeling right now, but doing a little upgrade on the system. But this whole facility is the CERN facility. But if you look at it, and this is what kills me. So like the Infinity 8 and the power source to power this big old behemoth of a system. So if you look at the overlay, once again, it'll show it. This is the preparated looking paper circle here. It's a large Hadron Collider, right? But you can't make it up because it literally goes along with the flow. I could not present it. I had to present it to you.
Wow.
Because you kept talking. We kept talking about CERN and bringing up the obelisk. So piercing the veil.
Let the Holy Spirit lead it, man.
Yeah, it's piercing the veil, and this whole thing is some kind of diabolical gateway portal. So
and it's all connected too.
It's all connected. So what I'm getting at, if you really look at it with the eyes to see, and you look at the Vatican, the Washington Monument, and that power source, like the harmonization and all the tunnel systems, all the ley lines, everything interconnected, and they have to turn this thing off periodically. They get too much it's like telewatts or 2 gigawatts or something of energy, and they have to turn it off every so often, supposedly, and recharge it, whatever. So what if the obelisks and all this worship, what if this is all interconnected and they have to use the human residence? Because you hear about that all the time in the news. Everybody's like, the human residence is going down, the human residence is going up, and all this crazy new age stuff. What if this is all interconnected? And this is because CERN I'm not trying. I'm gonna take. Let me take a deep breath because I'm getting all excited here. So CERN. Let me reframe what I'm saying because I don't want to get the channel get hit with something. There's a lot of diabolical things here. Get back to my point. So Nimrod, I heard many rumors that they took his corpse when they found him and stuck him in the collider. No joke. I heard that in 2016, if my memory serves me correct. So they stuck him in it. It was a mummy. It was a gigantic mummy. This facility has 3D printers that are 3 stories high. They have 3D printers that are 3 stories high. So why do you have to have a 3D printer that's 3 stories high? There's been a lot of weird conspiracy theories here. They have Shiva, all these different things. It has nothing to do with the geological standpoint of this area. But what I'm getting at, your god of destruction, all this paganism worship, and this place is all funded by all governments. So why wouldn't it? Why you got the Infinity 8 symbol, you got the whole shebang, you got the whole ball of wax right here, right? Only on the Spiritual Warfare Friday show. But you have to you get what I'm saying, right, Dan? I mean, it makes it, that's just the way I see things. I can't help it. But there's that. There's that. So if you want me to, I'll continue going on. But
if you hold right there for a second, guys, I wanted to bring this up because we talk about this, right? How would they get these artifacts, right? Well, here's an article. This was Atlantic and many other publications back then would talk about it's disturbing easily to buy Iraq's archaeological treasure. So remember during the Iraq war and Saddam Hussein and all that stuff, right? U.S. forces invaded the country 15 years ago. So they left behind a booming trade in looted artifacts. They were actually going to old caves and monuments that nobody's supposed to be in. They're going to these, digging up bodies and these Nephilim creatures and all that stuff. And me and Brian's talked about this many times about how they confronted a giant, a redhead giant, whatever the case. Not even joking around. They've confronted these things and they killed a lot of troops. These things, they're giants, you know what I mean? And they actually killed one of these things. And they're going to caves, going to ancient. Not even their own citizens going into ancient tombs and everything else, digging up artifacts and all that. And they even said they went, it was said that they went to the Pyramid of Giza and other places that took certain artifacts, bodies and everything. They were shipping home tons of huge containers of artifacts from all over the Middle East, not just Iraq, man, but all over the Middle East, shipping them back to the United States. So a lot of them were remains from these Nephilims and everything else. And the people in the Middle East, they'll tell you this. I mean, that people know better, but this is not a joke, and there was a lot of publications talking about this. What has this got to do with the war? You go into there stealing artifacts and all kinds of stuff out of Iraq alone, you know what I mean? So they looted items returned, and about 8,000 are still out there. So they said thousands of items, okay, that they've looted. What the heck's that got to do with the war? This is crazy stuff, man. Ancient Mesopotamian stuff, man. Remains, all kinds of stuff out there. You can find tons of articles on this stuff, guys, and they really went out there there's nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, which was a lie anyway, and the babies dying in incubators, or nothing to do with 9/11. It was to take over Babylon, planning up the old Babylon. And it's to put ice on our cake here. ISIS, right? The terrorist group ISIS, mysteriously they formed in where? The old Babylon. Why would they be called ISIS? Exactly. You can't make this stuff up, to take over Babylon again. What do you think? Why do you think the whole war is centered around? They've always wanted to go after Iran, right? Iran's been the number one target forever, for decades in this country, because Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and all that's the old Babylon. Why do you think the hell bent on taking those countries over? You know what I mean? This is what it's about, guys. All of it, down to the wars, to the money, all the stuff going on, even with Ukraine and everything, all the stuff going on. It's all to do with this. It's nothing to do with money and all that. It's all to do with a spiritual agenda to bring in the new Babylon, guys.
Amen, Dan. Amen.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I just wanted to
you're good.
back you up here.
No, man. I feel like I've cut you off a few times tonight, and I wanted to, apologize. The two peculiar men talking about Stargates and Nimrod and everything on a Friday night. What a blessing. So here's so I am going to take us here, but I can't really help it just for the sake of time, because I know we want to have some callers calling this evening. I do have two things to bring up. It's kind of getting into the movie standpoint. I'm going to kind of bring a bit different perspective, because people just need to know what they're watching. I'm going to bring this up and expose it, so just bear with me. if I can even pull it up. But just bear with me. And this one will blow your mind too. I mean, I don't know. I get excited just as much as like I'm watching a show
Me too.
myself. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this
I
is
don't know.
intriguing
Just kind of.
stuff. Yeah.
So if you can see that screen, can you see that
Yep.
screen? So this particular
Yeah.
character
We'll
here.
enlarge it a little bit.
Okay, enlarge it. Okay, fair enough. So when you look at the apocalypse, okay, look at the apocalypse on all these X-Men movies, all this stuff, right? Well, this character, he's got all this Samaritan, ancient Egypt narrative. When you watch this movie, and of course it's a movie about time travel. This one, I think it's called Apocalypse and Time Past. I think it's what it's called, or something like that. There was another one. This is based off of a time, and it'll literally tell you the plot. You'll say ancient Egypt, talking about ceremonies, all these different things. But I remember watching this movie several years ago. Well, the character would be Apocalypse, which has been around for, comic books characters for years. But my point of bringing this up tonight is he says something very interesting, Dan. And you've said it multiple times tonight. He talks about that he's been called many things throughout time. I think he makes a point of Osiris, Nimrod, and I think he might have even said Gilgamesh, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of biblical terms and stuff that they talk about the Bible in this particular movie. This came out in 2016. But my point is, this character, he has the ability to teleport. He has teleportation. He's been around for many generations. But the problem is he teleports in and out of time, so to speak. Or in this movie, I think he has to use a human sacrifice, and they have to go into an incubator chamber in a pyramid and take a person in their prime and harness all their energy, and then he can rise again and be Apocalypse, right? But my point is, no joke, if I can bring it up, if you can see this, it's a lot small. This is Nimrod Comics. This is literally in the same Marvel universe, right?
Wow.
And they call him Nimrod. So this character is a robot. He's an android. And I know you probably can't see it, but I can't zoom in any different. This is a robot that hunts down mutants, okay? He's a sentinel. It's kind of interesting, right? The play on words. But he time travels. So how ironic. And even in this article with the Nimrod comics, it'll say, hailing from the days of future past timeline. That's a comic. Nimrod is powerful, virtually indestructible descendant of robot mutant hunting sentinels. And listen, this is literally what it says on Wikipedia. His name is derived from the biblical figure described in Genesis as a mighty hunter. No joke. No joke. And they know this. They blatantly throw it in your face. But people don't pick it up, right? They're like, well, that's just a comic book. That's not. So they've dumbed down the population. They've said, well, it's all figurative, right? So they don't believe in Nimrod. So the people that I was mentioning earlier, not to bring anybody down, they were saying, well, there's no such thing as Nimrod in the scripture. Well, it's because we've been in a trance of comic books and movies, et cetera, media, and now we can't see straight. But literally, I just showed you the time travel. So the time travel narrative, you've heard probably in some of the shows I've done on my channel. Time travel is supposedly, quote unquote, a real thing according to the Pentagon, right? So it's interesting that these characters and these comic book characters, Apocalypse, time travel, all these different things, and in the Gilbert type of status, this god, Apocalypse, is supposed to be a god and be giant. And then the Nimrod character, why would you name a character Nimrod in a Marvel comic and then even time travel, right?
Yeah,
and
right
then
in your face, man.
It's right in your face. It's the same thing, kind of what I've been presenting here. And I think these obelisks and stuff are completely energy source driven. And I think they're stargates. I think they're ley line narrative. I think they're all interconnected. And that's why if you want me to show some more, I can show some more. So I get a few more minutes just to show you.
Yeah, while you're getting it up, I could go through just run through the rest of the slides to show people quickly. Yeah, sure. The locations. I mean, it'd probably take days to show every obelisk across the planet,
absolutely.
guys. Just trying to make a point, guys. These are everywhere, and these are here for not memorials for nothing like that. They're there to bring season. They're like antennas. They're spiritual antennas. That's exactly what they are. And they're all related to the ley lines, the portals, all this stuff, and all this stuff in the movies we talk about, guys, and the cartoons and all that. They got that stuff from this stuff. You know what I mean? So when people say, oh, yeah, that's fantasy sci-fi stuff. No, your fantasy sci-fi stuff got stuff from truth. Why do you think they still teach Greek mythology in school? But they say, oh, it's just mythology. No, it's not just mythology. Those characters they mentioned were very real. They existed. They did exactly what they said they did, except for the point they were not gods. They were fallen angels and their children. You know, the Greeks and the Romans and the ancients thought they were gods, the fallen angels, and they thought their children were the sons of God. But in reality, they were actually fallen angels, and their children were the Nephilim. You know what I mean? You know, so we're taking a trip around the world here. So this is in D.C. too. This is also in. No, I'm sorry, in the bottom here. So this is Charleston, South Carolina. This one here, right? Just going to show you a couple of these. This is Ellen White, right? The founder of the Occult, I call it the Occult Seventh-day Adventist Church. The only thing they did get right is a Sabbath. That's about it. So because people accuse me of being SDA, no, I'm not SDA. I believe in the biblical Sabbath, which is on the Saturday. But yeah, this wacky doodle woman here, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. She's in the Kabbalistic stuff and everything else. But yeah, not a coincidence. She's got a resurrectional penis on her grave. You know what I mean? And I have to be blunt here. And this obelisk is right in New York City. You know, right there. People walk by it, don't even pay attention to it. If people already knew, man, I think it was a church around the corner from there. If they already knew, they would be tearing that thing down. You know what I mean? And this one here is Thomas Jefferson's grave. To see the Masonic, again, when I said in the graveyards guides, you got to find these in graveyards everywhere. So can you spot the Freemason? You know what I mean? So this Egyptian obelisk is a gravesite of Thomas Jefferson. The Masonic Lodge claims Jefferson was not a Mason. However, his writings, Jefferson effusively praised Adam Weishaupt, the Babylonian Order Illuminati. He was a founder of it. But here's the thing with Thomas Jefferson too. A little quick history, right? When it comes to patriotism, this guy was hardcore. If this guy was alive today, he'd be kicking the snot out of the federal government right now. However, okay, and yes, he grew up as he believed in Jesus and all, the Bible and all that for a long time. Toward his latter days, he became infected with Illuminism. So you know that Jefferson Bible that Trump and everybody else swears on? Yeah, you might want to actually go study what that's about. He took out the Book of Revelation. He rewrote the New Testament in his own way. All right, removed the Book of Revelation, said it was ravens from a madman, right? After he became infected with Illuminism. So, yeah, there's a reason why they gave him this resurrection gravestone there, because yes, he was later on he got involved with the occult, okay, into secret societies, and no, he wasn't a Mason for a while, no, but he was eventually. You know what I mean? So this is why, you know what I mean? And yeah, and this is another one here. This is in Victoria in Paris. Was this a Fountain of Victory in Paris, France? This one here is Bunker Hill, which is I think Bill O'Connell. I think you're in the chat room there. So you still there, Bill? Oh yeah, Bill O'Connell. So this is right near you. This is what Bill's been talking about. This is Bill O'Connell in the chat room here. He actually lives right near here. This is Bunker Hill, Massachusetts, in Charleston, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, and this is this 843. 1843 this was built. And this is a Bunker Hill Monument in Charleston, Massachusetts. So that's right near you, Bill. So this here was, where is this one? World's tallest shaft is San Janito Monument, sited in Thousand Acre Park in Houston, Texas. And this one here is Abraham Lincoln. This was the body of Abraham Lincoln was reinterred. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to read through the screen here. Re-entered and laid to rest at the Lincoln tomb, and this is his tomb, Abraham Lincoln's tomb. Big monument obelisk right there, right above his body. Yeah, and this is a temple at Luxor in Egypt there. I'm sorry, this is Concord in Paris. This is a symbolization of the hieroglyphics in Luxor in Egypt. This one here is James White. That's the husband of Ellen White, the founder of the SDA Church. He's also got an obelisk grave. This is George Washington, President George Washington, laying the cornerstone of the United States Capitol on September 18th, 1793, right? And fellow Masons use corn. Now this is called the corn, oil, and wine ritual they do when they lay cornerstones. And so George Washington was honored Mason. You know what I mean? He even said he has only been to like maybe a handful of lodge meetings, but he was an honorary Mason. So we don't know where that is. And I guess it said that he, rumored to say he actually denounced Freemasonry in his deathbed. So that begs to differ, you know, whatever the case. But anyway, this corn oil and wine ritual, which dates back to ancient era, 200 years in 1993, the Masonic Lodge conducted a reenactment of the same ritual on the site of the Capitol. So every 100 years, I guess, they do this corn oil and wine ceremony, which they do for the laying of cornerstones, and which has to do with Dagon as well. But this obelisk is a grave site of President and Founding Father James Madison, which he was a Mason too. And this is one of the monuments that was recently destroyed.
But they say, Dan, that the cornerstone's missing, right?
Yep.
Of George Washington.
Yep.
So have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about it, like what that actually is? That's like, why is it missing?
Yeah.
I looked at antediluvian stuff, and I thought, is it something that they stole, maybe an artifact, and they made a concrete? It had some kind of magnetic connection. I've always thought of it. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of, you know what I mean, like something nefarious going on. They put concrete around, make it look like a block, but there's something actually ancient technology in it. That's just my opinion. But
no doubt, man. There's a few more here, guys. This is Jocelyn, France, and this one here is in England. Just run down. As you can see, I don't have to go to the places here, but they're all over the place, guys. Look at it. Even in China.
I can show them to you if you want me to, Dan. I can show them a couple. Yeah, if you want me to. Yeah.
This one's Las Vegas, Nevada, and they got a pyramid thing and everything over there. It's crazy stuff, man. But if you want to show some of these guys before we get to we'll get to some biblical scripture.
Yeah.
Then we'll
absolutely.
get to the callers and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But for now, it's whatever you want to present, man. Go for it.
No, you're good. I don't want to keep holding up the flow, man. You letting the Holy Spirit's flowing tonight, so.
It's flowing like a wave.
Yeah, we might be flowing. I hope we're not flowing off of YouTube tonight. so here's Hong Kong. Here's Hong Kong. So even in Hong Kong, they have them, right? So an obelisk on the side of a mountain, like literally on the side of a mountain, no joke. On the side of a mountain on the ocean, like there's the ocean, and there's if you can see it, I'll show the picture. There's the obelisk, and it just says a historical landmark. And it's open 24. Here's what's so funny, Dan. You can zoom in on these bad boys, and they're open 24 hours. Like, not the ones in America, but if you go to the obelisks in other countries, it'll say open 24 hours. And I'm like, what do they want you to do in the middle of the night up on a hilltop? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's some scary stuff. I would not do that, right? I'd be scared to death. I'd be scared. I'd be like, dude, this is dark. So if you go across just literally not just a few miles away, well, it's a little bit further than that, but hang on a minute. It popped out and popped in. It's right up here. There's another one right here. So this one's inside an inland of a city, and this is also around a mountain, which is kind of strange. And this one is kind of in a wooded area. I think there's a picture here. And yeah, obviously it's a little different. It's not a point, but they do consider it an obelisk. There's some kind of, they've put some kind of marker up, but I just wanted to point that out. But there's some, like, you can go out, like way out. You can find them in the Philippines. You can find them here. There's Hong Kong. You can go on the shorelines here. This one blew my mind. That's just a learning, some kind of company. What's the CMU obelisk? This is, but they're everywhere. And then what's so weird about it, they have them in, sometimes you'll zoom in on them and they're all built around villages and cities. So it's all distorted and it won't give me a good imagery picture. But I think see, like right here, Dan, it's kind of like those look at that. Look at that. Look at that obelisk. I mean, it's just right there in your face.
Notice how a lot of these pictures have the sun right behind the obelisk too?
Every time. It's almost like, I'll tell you one well, I can't say it on here. Never mind. There was an event that happened, 20 years ago. Can't talk about it. Never mind. But I just wanted to bring something up, but I can't do it now. I'm not going to do it. But there's the phallic. There it is, plain sight. These are in different countries. This is not even nothing to do with the Egyptian. Like, these people are, different, different nationalities. It has nothing to do with it. This would be what Hong Kong and all these other countries that should have the samurai kind of narrative, right? Like, where's all that at? And what's so interesting about it? a lot of these that are over here in Hong Kong are on the
Wow.
shoreline. That's what cracked me up, was the ones that are on the shoreline. But yeah, you can find all kinds of them. I mean, and I can.
Can you
There's
pull
a
up
bunch.
Egypt?
Oh yeah,
Show all the
right here.
pyramids and obelisks and all that.
Yeah,
Right
I
along
think
the
it's
Nile River and everything. And
there's one here. This one's kind of strange. This is the tomb that's in close to. I think this is in Egypt, or this is in Jordan. But and you see the four pillars. You see the four pillars.
yep.
It's kind of interesting. Let me see the Nile River. Where are we at? I know we're close. We're right here. Let's see. We are close. But I'm trying. Let me see. I have it marked here. I have it on my thing. I'll pull up the Giza pyramids as you can talk and kind of. Oh, there it is. I didn't know how long it was going to take, my friend. And they want the chat to.
Yeah, man. They could
get
all over the world.
So here's the pyramids, and I'm trying to remember where the obelisk is close to this area.
And if you notice the pyramids too, right? When we brought up earlier, Orion's belt. Those
exactly.
three pyramids right there are exactly duplication of the what Orion's belt looks like.
Yeah, and what's so scary about it, I found them with Indian mounds.
Yeah.
I found this in my area. Let me type in obelisk and see if it pops up. Let's see if it pops up around here. And it should pin. There's two right there. There's one right there. There we go. That should give me the algorithm. This one, there we go, Dan. It's called the hanging obelisk. This one's, I never seen it. I don't know if this one's, like, there you go, Dan.
Wow.
That's a 3D rendering of it. They made it all look nice and pretty from, but there you go. There's the ones in Egypt. So, I mean, it's just, and there's another one. There's two, supposedly they're picking up two here. You know what's so weird and creepy? They're picking up two here inside the pyramids. Like, seriously, Dan. I typed in obelisk and those red indicator nodules, or those are obelisks. So they must be inside the pyramids.
Wow.
No joke. So every one of them, it has to be that. Unless it's just, maybe an obelisk on the wall, maybe a drawing or depiction or something. But here's some over here in Cairo.
One of the underground temples in the pyramid should be obelisk there too.
Check this one out, Dan. Look, here we go. The Ramsey one.
Yep.
Look
right
at
in
it.
the circle.
It's got there it is, the same narrative, right? So look. See, now here's a prime example of cars friction. I know this sounds crazy, but when they're circling it, and that constant flow of energy. I know this sounds weird. I know that everybody's gonna think I'm probably wacky. But when they're turning and driving, and this gas or whatever type of vehicle it is, electric probably now, but that vibration of the ground and on the asphalt, there's something going on here that's sinister, that more than meets the eye, so to speak.
Same thing like CERN too. You know what I mean? Like the circle.
Yes, exactly. And it's a flow of energy, and there's humans driving the cars. So, I mean,
and people too, before you think he's silly or something, you got to understand the spirit world, things work a lot different, you know what I mean, than what they do in the physical world. So, to use just a bunch of stone or something, but into the occult, into the spiritual world, these are literally demonic, seething energies. Okay, that's why they're placed in certain places. They're conducted with certain star patterns and rituals and dates, and like it's all strategically done purposely to harness these seething energies across the planet in the spirit world, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to bring in the Antichrist, you know what I mean? And they need to set up this one world kingdom, this all the markers everywhere they need. Okay, it's just one of many cogs to one giant wheel they're trying to push. You know what I mean? So, like when you build a computer, right? There's thousands of components to go into that computer. You know what I mean? So these are just some of the thousands of components into that giant one world computer they're trying to do here. And this is just like so fascinating.
Yeah. And then there's one here that doesn't even give me an image, and I can't zoom in. It's like in between apartment buildings.
That's weird.
I can't get a good feed on it. It's just blurry.
You open your window, you move into an apartment, and there's an obelisk right in front.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd be like, "How y'all doing?" I couldn't live there, man.
No.
I'd be out. But yeah, so these look like this one right here, Dan. Here's another one. Here's a square, but see, it's a park, right?
Yep.
You walk up to it, and you just have, you take pictures. I mean, here's some more. They got some picture imagery here. It's just layouts, but there it is. There's a better imagery for everybody. So there you go. I mean, we can get it. I mean, I get it when it's in Egypt. I get the whole Osiris narrative, but when it's like in Japan, China, Hong Kong, wherever we're at, it kind of boggles my mind. Like when they're, I just can't help it. I mean, it's
yes,
there's something more going on.
It's a worldwide conspiracy, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
They're conspiring to bring in the Antichrist. And they do it right on your nose. In some places, like you'll be a church right there, right? People go in there on Sundays and they go to church and all that, and they look out the window. They go, not even notice that there's one of the most satanic symbols in history staring them right in the face. I mean, it baffles me. It really does. It's all over the world. I mean, Brian could be here for hours on end pulling these things up, guys.
Well, that's like a steeple on top of your church. I'm not trying to be mean, but it has something to do with
Babylon, the Tower of Babel.
It has to, like the same the architect work that we showed tonight, the harnessing of the human, these souls gathering. I'm not trying to be weird. It's just how I see things.
Yeah, Tex Mars, like I said, got a lot of his books, right? Tex Mars in his books brings that up too, about the steeples on churches, how it harnesses those energies, and it's nothing good, guys. The reason why they put steeples on, because they love nothing more to put evil right in your own churches. And with these steeples in the churches, they bring these energies in, okay? And it's all demonic. It's all demonic. There's nothing holy about it. Well, God does, anywhere in the Bible, people say, oh, how do you know it's not being used for good? Because you could actually look in Scripture. Scripture, you won't find nowhere says we need to erect a steeple or some kind of anything at all, because the Bible hates idolatry with a passion. God's destroyed entire cities over idolatry. God's killed many people over idolatry. It was one thing he cannot stand, like one of the biggest things he cannot stand is idolatry, and that's why it's the second commandment. You know what I
mean? Yeah, and then like this one's called Cleopatra's Needle.
Yep, that's another name for it too. Where?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that on?
This is not in Egypt. This is in.
I mean, the plaque said that.
Yeah, the plaque. It actually says Cleopatra. It's Cleopatra's Needle. That's what it's called.
Cleopatra is Isis.
Yeah, exactly. And there it is. And then this is in. Let me back out. This one's not. This is in. Isn't that? This is in the United Kingdom. This is in London. So here's one thing, right, Dan? So check out this architect work. This river that's on here, that's called River Thames. It looks like obviously you can make out anything, right? But I'm just making a point that how it looks like a serpent. It kind of looks like a serpently snake. It's kind of baffling, really, when you look at it. But then all of a sudden you just zoom in. There's Cleopatra's needle, so to speak, and there's all this stuff you just can't make up. I mean, you just can't. I mean, I could talk about it for hours, but yeah. So anybody in the chat, they're literally just saying needle, but it's a phallic. It's it's obulus. We're just reading off what it says here. It says Cleopatra's Needle. So,
which is mentioned in this book here too. Another Tex Mars book. I could have brought this up, but there's a lot of information already. But it's called Codex Magica, and you can see how thick this book is, man. It's like 560 something pages of all symbolism and all that. It talks about and it gives all the names for that symbol, which is Cleopatra's Needle, Baal's Shaft, Nimrod's golden penis, says obelisk. There's so many names for it, but it's all the same thing. You know what I mean? And Absolutely. It's again, we started at the beginning of the show that Nimrod and Isis, right? They had many, many different names to different cultures. You know, because remember this, right? The Tower of Babel, right? What happened when they literally wanted to build up to heaven, and that's when Lucifer wanted to ascend to heaven and take over heaven. You know what I mean? And God cast him right back down again. Right? You know what I mean? And which we believe Lucifer is not Satan. He's one of the Nephilim, you know what I mean? But anyway, which drove Nimrod, I believe. But so anyway, what did God do? He separated everybody because he told everybody, be fruitful and multiply. And then people didn't want to do that. No, we're going to stay here. We're going to build a tower to heaven. We're going to unite together, right? And so God made all the languages strange and pushed everybody away. Go, go. Go, get out, go out and spread around the world, you know what I mean? So what they did was all these cultures all over the world, this is where you stop the confusion of all these different Eastern religions, you know what I mean? So all these religions are all nothing but splinters of the very Babylonian religion. So they took splinters of the Babylonian religion and went their way. And them being confined with a different language, of course they're going to call Nimrod Osiris over here. They're going to call him Gilgamesh over here. They're going to call him Adonis over here. They're going to call him all these different names. And the same thing with Isis, with Cleopatra. They're going to call her Cleopatra over here. They're going to call her Juno over here. You know what I mean? And it's all the same people. You know what I mean? All the same people. And, different names for Tammuz, too. The sun, Horus, the sun god. You know what I mean? Fake sun god. But, this book, it's like full of this stuff, man. And there's a Ouroboros right there, too. Right on the cover.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
can't make it up. It's just
it's
all there.
It's all connected. That's why and it talks about to the point too. You'll see that even though who was it? Billy Graham wrote some books, right? In his own books, he had the symbolism blatantly in your face, little circles with points in it for no reason in his book, right? That's the penis penetrating the vulva, okay? I'm trying to be clean as possible. That's what that means, okay? Plain and simple, because everything in the occult is a perverted, filthy version, okay, of somehow, some way, they take something of God that's good, and they pervert it. Twist it around, pervert it, and twist it around some more, and pervert it some more, you know what I mean? So this is what they do, guys, and this is how complex that they do this stuff, man.
Yeah, it's
if
we just showed it, we've showed it all tonight. It's blatantly in your face, I
want to bring up one more, a couple more verses. Yeah, so
go ahead, Dan.
This is what God thinks, guys, and if you want to bring up some verses too on idols, you know what I mean, go for it. But this is the second. This alone should say enough. But if we were just to end it right now, this alone would do it. And it's sad because even Christian churches have these statues and Mary and all that. You're not supposed to have that stuff, guys. Okay, and this is the second commandment of the God, the Bible, not the Catholic version, because they don't have a second commandment like this. So anyway, it says, "You shall not make yourself an image of any form of anything in heaven or above the earth or beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them nor worship them. For I am the Lord your God. I am a jealous God, and punishing the children for the sin of their parents to the third and fourth generation who hated me, and but showing love to thousands of generations to those who love me and my commandments." You know what I mean? So this is very important, and I don't want to hear, we're not under the law no more, we don't keep the commandments. No, that's because you're a moron, and I hate to say that, and you don't know how to read the Bible right, because the Bible all through the New Testament says you need to keep the commandments of God. Jesus himself said it a dozen times. I'm just sick and tired of arguing with people. I really am. And sorry for being crude like that, guys. So John 4:23 says, God hates idols. And regardless of whether they are Roman Catholic, Protestant, Hindu, Buddhist, or any other religion, idols are an abomination. Like, it's not a sin, guys. It's an abomination. So if you don't know the difference, it's utterly hated. Like, God's killed people, okay? We did a whole show on Dagon. Look what he did to those nations over there. You know what I mean? So, again, it doesn't matter what religion you are, all right? Idols are an abomination to God. And he says, John 4:23 says, "But the hour comes and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth." We're supposed to worship in spirit and truth. "For the Father seeketh such to worship him." So, you know what I mean? That's what the Father thinks, man. And we got tons of other verses, man. And if you want to bring any up, go for it, Brian. Because I know there's like score, especially in the Old Testament, man. Oh, man, God like literally ludicrated cities over idolatry, you know what I mean? And it's a smack in the face. Why would you take, like, the biggest one, I think, man. Remember when he made the statue of Babel? When Moses was on the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments? And, here's what really gets to me, right? Now, you travel through, you free your people from Egypt, right? Never in day could be done, so they're traveling along. He's providing a cloud in the daytime to protect them from sunlight, a pillar of fire at night to keep them warm and keep light, right? Giving them food along the way, everything they need, right? And every single time, I'm getting sick of manna. And so they want meat. God gives them meat. They gripe about that. And, everything God does for them, they're griping about it. So Moses on the mountain, he says, we're going to be a while, we're going to be up there. Just have patience, right? I think it was a couple weeks, whatever. People lost patience, and oh, let's build a God that we could actually touch and feel and see and all that. And all the stuff God's done for them, they built this dumb statue made out of gold or whatever the case. And when Moses came down, man, he pounded that thing up and made everybody drink the powder of it. You know what I mean? But God was ready to destroy him. God, if Moses didn't try to, negotiate with God, because God was ready to wipe them out completely. They were like, yeah, of all the stuff I've done for you, and you're going to do this? Are you kidding me? He was ready to smite them all together. Say, see you later. Good night. And God negotiated, Moses negotiated with God and gave him another chance. You know what I mean? And all the people that was part of that Baal worship, God destroyed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up your time, but no, you
ain't taking my time up. I'll just one thing I keep thinking of too is just like all we presented tonight, Nimrod building the Tower of Babel, trying to declare war on God. It's the same narrative today with their pulling and pushing, and we showed the obelisks about piercing the veil, pointing up to the sky, and basically just some bad gestures to our Father in heaven. And it's just unbelievable, like the golden calf, all these different idols, different things that they've made. And they just did that just recently. They built that. I don't want to say the place because I don't want to get hit with the thing on the channel here, but where they had a big congregation event over there in another country, had the big bull and everybody was lighting candles and having singing Kumbaya, right? So that's the same narrative. It's the same thing. It's the same. It's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes. I mean, I could show it, but in Ecclesiastes, in the very first chapter, talking about is this new? Is this new? And there's nothing new under the sun. So there I am. There's just me verbally saying it, but I mean, it's
so many verses, Old and New Testament.
Oh yeah,
telling us strictly. You know what I mean? And I would challenge people, if you have any doubts about this, guys, all you do is quick Google search, type in Bible verses on idol worship or idolatry, either one, and you get tons. You right to the Bible sources, and they'll bring the Bible pages, and they'll bring up everything that the word idol is in. And you'll see. I mean, we could be here all night just on these verses alone.
Yeah, I know.
But man, and if the second commandment should do it. When we just read that alone should make you say, "I'm staying away from idols," right? And yes, that includes the. And this is what really bothers me too. People put a fish on their car. Oh, it's a Christian symbol. Jesus used the fish. No, Jesus never used no fish. He didn't use symbolism and all that. The fish is a symbol of Dagon. It's not of Jesus. You know what I mean? It's not a Christian symbol. That's a Catholic thing. And, the same with the cross and everything else. That's why I don't wear any of that stuff. I used to years ago, but I refrain from any of that stuff because, there was a cool statue of a knight with the full armor of God on. I didn't buy it because I think it's still idolatry. Then you got these places out there selling saints and angels, right? Statues. They look gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but that's idolatry. Because, again, don't make anything above or below. Plain and simple. Don't make these things. You know what I mean? Because people don't realize in the spiritual warfare, man, you are pulling these seething energies into these things. Regardless, it's just a statue of Mary. It's harmless. Yeah, is it really? Oh, it's a statue of St. Michael. Is it really harmless? No. It's not harmless. I mean, yes, it is. I mean, no, it's not harmless. I mean, because these things in the spirit world, that everything and anything possible a demon could take possession of, they'll do it. Because Satan promises them a place in his kingdom. And any little avenue they could get into this physical realm here, they'll do it. Even if you want to say, all right, I'm going to worship this bottle of Gatorade, right? We're going to form a cult around this bottle of Gatorade. How stupid it sounds, yeah. But energies would actually come in the spirit world, would come into this bottle because it's being venerated. That's why the Bible is very strict on idols. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. And you got anything else to present, or you want to go to some calls and stuff?
I just want to just thank everybody in the chat and everybody in this broadcast to just listen to me and Dan. It's just a pleasure to get on here on Spiritual Warfare Friday, and I enjoy it. I know Dan enjoys it, and it's been an honor to be on here and us tag teaming this and being part of the show. So I thank you, Dan, and I hope everybody in the chat enjoys it. And we can take calls if you want. Yeah, a few calls. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to take calls off, I understand you're up late and there's everybody sleeping in the house, but if you want any comments or questions, guys, in the chat room, just try to put them in all capital letters, and I'll get to your questions and all that stuff. So,
And real quick, disclaimer: what
Oh,
Dan
yeah.
referred to earlier.
Thank you.
When you call in, do not. Well, excuse me. Let me reframe. For the sake of everything that's going on with all these weird social media platforms, just in this one, just try not to use so many medical terms and be kind of, because Dan made a point when he began the broadcast. He said he will disconnect, and it's not that he's trying to be mean. He just wants to keep his channel. So out of respect to Dan, you know. So, and another thing too is subscribe to Dan's channel, help him out, hit that like button, and you know, if you want to hit, mine's in the description below too. If you want to subscribe, and there has been many people, and I appreciate everybody subscribing. It's been a blessing. I thank you all so much for doing that, and hit that like button for sure. And we just don't want to. And real quick, we don't want to get this episode that we just done today to have to take it down and edit. That's why we want just everybody to kind of. I know we want to get so tore up when we call, because I would do the same thing and just start getting emotional, you know, and really want to just blurt out anything. But since this platform is kind of touchy, just for the sake, let's just try to keep it a little bit more toned down. Talk about anything but medical.
We're hanging on a string right now on this channel. So if you guys could just please take a minute. And so I just posted the link in the chat, right? That's my backup YouTube channel, right? In case they shut this down like they did my other one, we'll broadcast off that one, and which we upload everything on there anyway. But do me a favor right now. We'll give you a couple seconds, right? Just click. All you do is click that link, right? Hit subscribe, then hit the back button. If you're on your phone, your computer, whatever, all it takes is a second. Hit the link I just posted there, and hit subscribe and hit the back button. And you'll be right back here again. That's our backup YouTube channel, and we got a Rumble channel. It's in the chat room, in the description. But if you could subscribe to that backup YouTube channel, guys, that'd be great. You know, we'll give you a couple minutes here, but I'm just waiting for some questions and all that. I posted the phone number in the chat, so if anybody wants to give us a ring, and usually it's Brother Tim, that's like woo, that's shouting out into the phone here. So waiting on some phone calls.
Yeah, some people in the chat didn't hear because they might have tuned in. We just said it right at the beginning of the show. Dan was just saying to kind of, you know, not say those words because we don't want to get hit with a strike. So, I hope y'all understand. Yeah. We appreciate you all. We appreciate y'all being here.
So the 59 Lincoln in the chat room asks, where did the pre-tribulation rapture idea come from? I read something about a dream. So where it became popular, I don't know where exactly. We cannot honestly say where exactly it came from. I think it came from Satan. All right, but well, actually it did, and I don't think it did come from Satan. But it was a man named John Nelson Darby who started this whole dispensationalist movement. And who else is it?
1842, 1842, Dan,
something like that. Yeah.
If my mind is,
and John Scofield too, when he printed his Bible, they both tag teamed this whole. Pre-tribulation, and also the Jesuits behind it too. The big push for the pre-tribulation rapture, because what it did was, now here's the thing, right? If you're you're not going to be spiritually sound. You know what I mean? If you're told, don't worry about it, we're not going to be here for none of that stuff, you're going to be like sitting back, relaxing. I don't have nothing to worry about. But the Bible says no. It's like we're going to be here. You have to endure to the end. You know what I mean? We're going to be here for that. And in Matthew 24 says immediately after the tribulation, he comes back and gathers his elect. You know what I mean? So, but the churches, when these dispensationalists say it was John Nelson Darby, 1830. Thank you, Jesus owes me. 1830. So, yeah, John Nelson Darby, I'm sorry. He's the one that made it popular. You know what I mean? And Christina Ellie says Margaret MacDonald had the dream. So it was I guess she had this dream. Which the dream has, I mean, regardless, people have dreams. It's unbiblical because the Bible says opposite. You know what
I mean? I will chime in a little bit because this is kind of a touchy subject because a lot of people around in my communities, they believe it. I'm not trying to bash anybody over the head with this, but it blows my mind when you look at Aztec, Mayans, all that stuff. You look at these old Indian tribes. I mentioned this before. It kind of blows my mind when, this happened hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, and they'll make, they've got documentation about these, these tribes or whatever disappearing. And they have like gateway portals and giant men with horns, or the mantis people coming and gathering the people that have carved, like cave drawings on the caves. And it's just interesting to me that that stuff's written, that stuff's written in caves, that stuff actually happened. And I think this is where that interpretation comes from, like of rapturing, what I mean? Like it's just this, I hate to be mean, but it gets into superstition, folklore, and then, this 1800s event from this dream. And it just kind of goes down the swamp, so to speak, as far as knowledge. And they just make a whole doctrine out of it. So it's, it's kind of trippy sometimes when you get into, and then the whole narrative with the aliens and stuff, with the abductees, the abductions, and then, the people, the body of these churches. I want to watch what I say, but they don't talk about that stuff, or they don't talk about the giants. They don't register it all.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, we're going to be raptured out here tomorrow, and it's kind of, I'm not trying to be mean. It really hurts I'm being very genuine here. It breaks my heart that I can't, a lot of these people they just need prayer, that the Father wakes them up.
Magic rapture school bus there.
Yeah, I remember that on the Midnight Ride, but that's hilarious. But it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart that they, there's something going on in the news. Like it looks chaotic or looks dark. We're gonna be raptured next week. Or what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing. I'm trying to watch what I say. There's a low supply of something here. We're gonna be raptured next week. There's a tornado coming.
Anytime.
Yeah, I know. It's really, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard it all my life.
I used to defend that stuff, and I'm like, then I look, but what am I defending it with?
Mm-hmm.
Religious dogma. Certainly not the Bible. You know what I mean? Then they try to take Jacob's trouble and intertwine it like as proof of pre-tribulation rapture. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? And again, Matthew 24, immediately after the tribulation. The sun and moon will go dark, the stars will fall from heaven, the heavens will be shaken up. Then shall the Son of Man come. Then he'll gather his elect from the four winds of the earth. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, too, the same thing. We will be here for the mark of the beast. And people say, "Oh, we're not going to be afraid of that." Yes, we will. And in the 2 Thessalonians says the son of perdition, the Antichrist, will be revealed first. Okay, this is how the deception comes in. Now we all hear about this red heifer, right? They got a bunch of red heifers that just recently this week got shipped over to Israel, right?
5, I think, Dan.
5?
I think it's 5.
All right.
Yeah.
So they said we're ready for the third temple. Now the thing is, if you believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, right? This is going to open the door for massive deception because a lot of people are going to think, all right, the clown coming out of the temple here, all right, the world makes world peace and all that, he's the Messiah. So how many people are going to actually be fooled to think he's the Messiah? Because we got told in the pre-tribulation, Jesus comes first, then the Antichrist, right? Why do you think they say that the way? So when this guy comes out of the Antichrist and does all these miracles, the temple, they're going to think he's the Messiah. But the Bible says the other way around. The Bible says the Antichrist comes first, then Jesus. And Jesus is not coming from a temple because he says in Matthew 24, when they say I'm in the desert, don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's coming from the heavens, okay, from the sky. He's literally, it's not figurative. He's literally coming from the clouds. He's literally ripping that veil open. He's literally coming down with great force and power. Plain and simple. Literally, and it's not figurative. Speaking of that, Marky Mark, and I know you got to love this question. I can't wait to hear Brian rip into this. Not against you, Marky Mark, but it says, do you believe that angels can get human women pregnant in Genesis 6? So me and Brian, actually, we just had a whole show about this, man. And, it's called the Sethite theory, where people say, oh, no, it's just figuratively. Angels can't get people pregnant. So, and my answer to that is 100% yes, because that's what Genesis 6 says. That's what the Book of Enoch says. That's what a lot of the Scripture says too. But
the Book of Jude, the Book of Jude talks about the going after strange flesh. The two, talking about the men that show up in Sodom and Gomorrah. That whole narrative, and they look like men.
Yep.
And then you get into the 1,500-page report with that happened in April this year. They're talking about the women that are mysteriously becoming pregnant. If you look at the narrative
That's
and
from the
look at all of
Pentagon
it,
too, from the UFO sighting.
that's straight up from the Pentagon. And there's people that doesn't even have these ladies don't have a mate, a male mate. So we get into interdimensional, we can get into a whole nother narrative with that. But I agree with Dan, absolutely yes. They come in crafty. They know 15 different languages, 20 different languages. They's impressing these women. Some of them took women by force.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously in the Bible it says they took wives as they chose. But we go down I could get this channel taken off real quick in about 5 seconds if I said something right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like on the history standpoint, what's been going on the last 4 or 5 years. I could, really rattle some cages right now, but nothing to do with the question. I'm just talking about with, political stuff and all that garbage. But yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that's what kills me, that nobody believes in angelic. To answer your question too, people don't believe in angels. No joke. And they'll be reading the KJV, NIV, it doesn't matter. They'll read any kind of biblical text, ESV or whatever, and they say that, and they're being taught this, that angels, it's just Jesus and the devil. And the angels, that's just all figurative now. It's all been done away with. That door's closed, and none of that exists. And then that's why they don't believe in giants. They just cut it all off and just say, that's it. And then they worry about the rapture. That's it. It's really sick and scary. But and then, but yeah, the angels mating with women. That's biblical.
And all right, let's use another term, right? And let's take the Bible out of the equation for a second, right? Let's just put the Bible aside for a second. And I'm just, being figurative at this, but put the Bible aside for a second, right? So we ask the same question. The angels have children with the woman on the earth, right? So if you go to Greek mythology or every ancient culture, every one of them, all right, in their stories, even the Native Americans, right? They said the gods, okay, that came down, took regular women, had intercourse with them and had children with them, right? Every ancient culture, okay, most of them didn't even know each other from other parts of the world, right? All have the same stories. All of them do. So, is this figuratively? No. It's literally, you know what I mean? Then you put the Bible back in the equation and it matches 100%, you know what I mean? So, you could say, I don't believe in the Bible and I don't believe that happened. Well, guess what? The Greeks knew that happened. And it's not mythology, it's real, okay? The Romans knew that happened. The Mayans knew that. The Aztecs, the ancient Chinese people did. The ancient Egyptians did. The ancient Mesopotamians did. They all knew this, okay? They all talk about the Great Flood, too. They talk about the giants and the star people, the Indians call them, made them with the woman. They all talk about this, So there's no way around this. But I guess today we're supposed to put thousands of years of human history, ancient technology, and the thing is, guys, people say, those are just primitive people back then. That's what we get told. They were just primitive people. You have no idea at all. You know what I mean? No idea at all what kind of technology these people had, man. They were charting the dark side of the moon, stuff like that. Come up with a binary code that today's computers use. Back then, Nimrod did. Nimrod was a mathematical genius. You know what I mean? Where do you think numerology came from?
I'm glad you brought that up, Dan. Yeah. I was going to talk about that today, but I just left it out. No, you just hit you did it, hit the head on the nail, man. Like literally was going to say that a lot of new age, the quantum theory, quantum mechanics and all the computer standpoint, they literally held Nimrod up to a higher power. So he made binary code. Like he is the master. Like they literally say that. And then, like I said, it kind of goes back to you get into comic books and all this, so-called figurative stuff, right? Like these comic book characters saying they got teleportation, all these different things, and all this quantum, all these different technologies, right? Isn't it kind of ironic, if you really think about it, so how that all plays into the narrative of what they're propagating, making billions of dollars off of. It just blows your mind.
Mock goes, sorry guys, I agree to disagree on angels having penises. Well, here's the thing, brother. How else would you impregnate a woman? You know what I mean? The Bible makes it very clear, like clear as day, that they impregnated the woman. They copulated with the woman. That means having sexual relations with them, and chose wives for themselves. And it literally says, literally sexually, okay? They came into the woman, okay? That you don't get any more. How do you come into a woman, okay? Sexual terms here. How do you come into a woman without a penis?
I think I understand what he's saying, though.
Well, yeah, you know, it could be genetic too. I don't know.
Yeah, he said, I do believe in fallen angel technology and science. So I get both. I agree with both ends.
Yeah.
With the genitalia of a man and the altering of, you know what? I'm not going to say it on here. I get that. I get it on both. I say both on this. I agree with both. Like he's saying technology and science. I get it.
Yeah, artificial
yeah.
I mean, it could be a possibility. Again, we don't know. You know what I mean? But we got to go with what the scripture tells us. But the Bible does say they had sex with the woman. So I don't know how else you would have sex without a penis. And I don't mean to be blunt like that. But yeah, that's, I mean, plain and simple.
Well, there's nefarious things going on. That's why they've begotten giants. That's why they, basically rendered giants and had, gigantic titans at the beginning. Real quick too, the Kandahar giant that was found in Afghanistan. People were talking about that on here. One thing, I did a video on that. It's on my channel. I really do believe that when this is no joke, when they looked at the whole narrative, I believe it was some type of time narrative, because if you really think about it, that giant being in a cave system, just sitting there hanging out and not going anywhere inland and finding, the inhabitants or disrupting villages, I think it literally popped in and had an energy source. And then the military had to go out there and say, what's going on? We got a big rise in energy here. What's a volcano or like some type of LiDAR or sonar equipment or something? They's like, well, we got to check it out. And then they bit off more than they chewed, literally. And you got a big 15-footer sitting there swinging a javelin at you in setting 500-year-old armor. See, this is what the whole story about 500-year, like it's ancient Roman armor. And I was like, there's just no way he's just sitting there in the cave.
Yeah.
So it has to be some type of something to do with time. The portal opening up or something. He pops in, and then they have to take care of it. That's just I can't comprehend anything else. They must have found some kind of electrical magnetic field or something, and pop up on the radar and say, hey, what just happened in Afghanistan? Then they show up and there's your big bad boy, because he's in the cave.
Yeah. I'm
not buying it, because if he gets hungry, how's he been sitting there for 500 years or 600? How's he just sitting there? And there's no recorded record of the natives saying, hey, there's a big man. You kind of get what I'm saying, Dan?
Yeah.
That, like, it has to be, there would be something there. And it's crazy.
It is. And I just want to touch up real quick on that one more time, because I've been studying this stuff for years, guys. And no offense against you, Mark, but this is what the Bible says, okay? Not with me, Dan Bidondi or Brian says, okay? Right here it says, Genesis 6 here. And the sons of God, which are the fallen angels, saw the daughters of men, which they were fair, which beautiful. They took them as wives, which they chose. And God says his spirit won't be with man and all that. Then he goes on to say, there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. And check this out. When the sons of God came into the daughters of men, right? And they bear children to them. So how else would you I'm sorry, guys. This is what the Bible says, right? How else would you come into a woman to get them pregnant? You know what I mean? And then plain and simple, they had sex with the woman on earth. And so unless there was another way to do that without a penis, I mean, please educate me on that, because this is what the Bible says, guys. You know what I mean? And literally, they came into the daughters of men and they got pregnant and bore children. You know what I mean? So, when you read the book of Enoch, it's almost verbatim. And Josh and all, talks about these things. They all say they had sexual relationship with the woman. So if they didn't have a penis, then please tell me what they were impregnating these girls with. That's all I have to, I would love to know that. But yeah. But yeah, Dan, my buddy GJG, okay, says, Dan, we have giants here in Rhode Island. And Brian, you still got Google Earth up?
I can pop it up, man.
If you want to put 9 Men's Misery, Cumberland, Rhode Island. So yeah, well, it was a giant found, I guess, during the King Philip War here. And the thing is, too, here's the whole thing too. The King Philip War was when the British first came here, and the Indians were starting to see what the British were up to, and they tried to overthrow the British to get them the heck out of here. So that was called the King Philip War, and yeah, that's what happened in the 1600s, I believe. And so during this war, guys, it was Indians, and there was a lot of Nephilim involved with this. A lot of Nephilim involved with this. And there was one, they called him Benjamin Buckland. He was the leader of a squad. The guy was huge. They said it was over 8 feet tall or something, 2 rows of teeth. And they found him here in Rhode Island in the gravesite. And they said the skull was massive. And, of course, the Historic Society stepped in and confiscated the evidence. And the newspapers, Providence Journal, wanted to do an investigation on it more. And the Historic Society claimed that the evidence was either lost or stolen. You know what I mean? And it's the same story over the country, you know what I mean? But right here in Rhode Island, man, they got that. There's just one of many, you know what I mean? We see the mounds all over the place. It's crazy.
There we go. My camera failed there for a minute, Dan. I'm back. I'm back. Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that, man.
That's all right.
That's why it went on a tangent. But anyways, I got it up here. Let me pop it up. Oh, by the way, Marky Mark, we thank you, though, for
thank you, Mark. God bless you, brother.
commenting. Yeah.
Yeah, Marky Mark, nothing but love, brother. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So this is what you're talking about, Dan?
Yep.
9 Men's Misery in Rhode Island.
See if you get the monument, a picture of it.
It's right here. The monastery?
Yep.
Is it the monastery?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the old monastery. And see that church here, right there? The church pot, that big domey looking, that's new. That they built that in the 90s. But the rest of it's all... Wow. That roof right here, the flat roof, that used to be a whole cathedral right there. It burned down.
Is that right? Oh, it's there. Okay, I see it. Okay, cool.
So that was where the church was, where it burned down. The church pot, they had a fire over there. But this library on the left here, that's all new. But there's a monument in the woods there. It's called.
Is it right? Is it right here? Like going where that circle is and that path?
No, it's you zoom out. It's out in the woods somewhere.
Is it right there? Veterans Monuments. Is that it right here? There's 9 Men's Misery right here. That might be it.
Yep.
Is it in the woods here?
Yeah, you might have to do the picture thing in there.
I don't know if I can or not.
If they even have it.
I don't think it's got it.
If not, I got some pictures right here of it.
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
I was actually just there last weekend with my brother.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it fits the profile of having just by looking at the wooded area.
You know, it's crazy. See the whole area right there?
Mm-hmm.
Now those are called the Cistercian monks, right? And they were a brotherhood of the Knights Templar. And right in that library, right, the old part of it, there's still the Knights Templar seal right on the floor, the old floor. Now, check this out, right? They were mining something called Cumberlandite. And Cumberlandite is the only place in the world you can find it right here. You can't find Cumberlandite anywhere else in the world. They said it was a meteor that crashed here, and they believe it's from Venus. I don't know how. That's the Knights Templar myth, but they moved here and they were telling the public they were mining silver, but they moved here to mine the Cumberlandite. We got a bunch of it at my house, my brother's house, but it's magnetic. It's like a meteorite rock, and it's huge. It's tons of it all over the area there. And so they were mining that, and it's all plays together, man. And it's like it's so much involved, that history right there. Like the war, part of the war took place over there, the King Philip War, the whole thing with the Knights Templar, and the alchemy stones they use for alchemy stones and everything else too. But a lot of history there. But over
this
here,
is crazy.
This is what the tomb looks like here, and this is 9 Men's Misery here. So this was a Providence Journal article, and where's...
Is this a refinery, Dan? Is this a rock quarry?
Yeah.
That's a rock quarry right here?
Yeah.
That's a rock quarry, correct?
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, do you know what... Have you ever been in there?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know... Oh, I could go... We'll have to talk about... We'll have to talk about this off air. I'd never looked at it, and then I just happened to... Oh, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the article's in here. It's from the Providence Journal. Where is it? Yeah, Providence Journal article, right? It was author, the reporter James Whitney, right? So I guess they excavated, because what happened, long story short, where this monument is, right? And it's kind of stupid that they actually honor these guys, right? Now, in Central Falls, Rhode Island, these men that were killed here, they killed a bunch of innocent women and children in a massive massacre on this big rock in Central Falls, Rhode Island. So, out of revenge, the Wampanoag Indians hunted these guys down, and they caught them up in Cumberland, and they ambushed them and scalped them and everything, out of revenge for them killing their families and all that. So it was called Pierce's Fight. So of course they erect a monument for them and not the Indians. You know what I mean? And so the Providence Journal, this is dated back in 1886 when the remains were dug up. So a strange incident occurred in relation to the 9 men's misery. This is again 1886. It was either during or shortly after the Revolutionary War. Some Providence gentlemen, said by Dr. Bowen, went up to the place and dug open the grave. So this is after the Revolution. They dug this grave open. Yeah, I mean, and so it said that they. Let me get to the meat and potatoes here. Illustrates in one fact that the settlement disturbs and identifies. So, all right, one of the skeletons dug up was an extraordinary size, and by the fact that it's having double sets of teeth, man, and was recognized of that of Benjamin Buckland of Rehoboth, Massachusetts. Now, the thing is, they got a thing called the Buckland Society. They got an entire society for this guy, this Nephilim. You know what I mean? And it's kind of strange, but it shows you, and this is just one of many. You could tons and tons of articles of giants. I mean, like it's crazy, man. See giants.
We should do another Spiritual Warfare Friday.
Yeah.
With just giants.
Yeah, we should save that for that. But yeah, you're right, because we'll just go down another rabbit hole.
No, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm enjoying this myself, but I'm just saying in general. For future reference, we should make another giant show.
Yeah, we should, because there's so much.
We did a really cool. We just didn't have enough time in the Nephilim one we did together. That was like one of the first ones we done together, and it was just. I thought we did a really decent job explaining it, but man, there wasn't enough time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is extracurricular activity. So sub to me in channel number. Yeah, please sub to Brian's channel, Visual Disturbance, guys. And just going through the comments here. I guess nobody wants to call in tonight.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want to divert you all like what we were saying earlier. It was just out of respect for Dan. We're just trying to watch it.
Yeah.
So
Giants bloodlines, I'm sure they still exist in some way. Yeah, DJG. He says Giants bloodline, I'm sure still exists. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
well, see, I got one for you. Well, I don't know if I should say anything. Well, I'm not. Well, yeah, why not? I'm not going to tell you where, but I'll share that for some other day down the road. But there is documentation. You can find, pictures of men that was at a higher stature of status. And they would be a higher stature of a man, too, because they're actually bigger. And did you know there's you can't make it up. They literally have pictures with men that has 6 fingers. So, and they're like 8-9 foot tall. So, hello, I mean, it is what it is.
And when the Indians did this, they were like, hold the hand up, and how we see this in old movies, the cowboy Indian movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like how they're not saying hi to you. That's just Hollywood stuff. What they did was they did this to strangers, and they had them hold their hands up so they could count their fingers and their toes too. So if they had, because they called them the star people, they had 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot, and this is common. With these giants. And it's funny. It was a movie came out years ago. It was called 11-11-11. It was about the Antichrist, right? And it was kind of strange because when it was about a kid that was the Antichrist, whatever. But he kept seeing claw marks, claw marks in the walls, and it was 6 fingers, not just 5, but 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange, but 6 fingers on each. Imagine that, having 6 fingers and 6 toes.
There's something. I look at a lot of stuff, but and listen to a lot of stuff throughout the years. One thing that's just resonating in my mind. You made a comment just thinking about fingers, but I heard a New Age spin on it about 10 years ago that the 6 fingers was because you're from a different dimension. No joke. and that you are from, no joke, it was just weird. Like, we're from the third dimension, so we have 5 fingers. And then they was making comments like the fifth dimension people had 6 fingers. And they was trying to the reason why I listened to it, they was trying to disprove the giant narrative. And they was trying to get into alien agendas and stuff like that. And they was saying there's mutations and stuff like that. And the 6 fingers belong to the 5th dimension. And it was just all this. You can hear it, Dan. You ought to hear it, man. There's just so much, man. It's just phenomenal. Or the stuff that they just do. It's just phenomenal. I don't know where they kind of, you make stuff up. It's just crazy. It's just like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Watching the chat room going on. So, yeah, Marky Mark, yeah, we love you too, man. But yeah, we go by scripture, man. You know what I mean? Like, cause I go literally what the Bible says literally. You know what I mean? It's not figuratively to me, and everybody in the chat room is saying the same thing here. We all go by what the scripture says literally. You know what I mean? And that's what we go by. You know what I mean? Other than that, you know, plain and simple, everything's, you know, which I truly believe is literally. And when it says the giants had sex with the woman on the earth, they had sex with. I'm sorry, the fallen angels, they had sex with the woman on the earth. You know, plain and simple. Remember too, said God made us in their image, right? He said we're gonna create man in our image, right?
Yeah.
Why would we have a penis and and stuff like that? You know what I mean? So yeah, there's got to be a lot of truth to that. You know what I mean? Which it is. It's all true. You know, and I don't know how else you would get a girl pregnant without one. So, you know, I don't know. It's just, but it is interesting to look into, and you know, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I could say something, but I'll have to tread lightly on what I say because it's just too much. Well, I don't want to get into a medical standpoint. But no joke, they are doing. Okay, so we can get into a big rabbit hole with this, but there is incubators that they are so-called making for babies, and I think that the shortage it's all from the pod. Okay, Dan, it would not be. It's an artificial womb, correct? Mm-hmm. So that's as far as I'm going to go because I think I might be saying too much. You know what I mean? And the incubation period will be less, from what I'm hearing. It's all AI driven, so it'll be less than 9 months. And all the nourishment and everything is there. It's all monitored in the pod. It's some trippy stuff, right? So that is a thing. But let's pray that the Father never lets it get to that, right? But you kind of get what I mean. So there is that. But they do have to have what you said a minute ago, the male standpoint. They do have to have that code to place to get to that incubation state, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
and guys, we don't have a super chat because YouTube won't let us monetize because we talk about, but we got a PayPal account, helps fund the show and pays the rent in the studio and all that stuff. So I hate even putting that out, but the link's right in the chat room, guys. And if you want to support this operation, please do that. And dollar, whatever you have, whatever the Father decides to, says give us, whatever. Other than that, praying for us is number one. You know what I mean? So again, we don't have a super chat. We try to get one, but YouTube won't allow us. So we got a Venmo, PayPal, and a Cash App. If you guys are interested in donating money toward this operation and this ministry. So we got all that good stuff, man. And again, without this, guys, this studio, everything here wouldn't be possible. The computers we have to have and all the equipment and everything else, it costs a lot of money. And I mean, and thank everybody who's been helping out. But yeah, the book of Enoch, who said that earlier? Let's talk about the book of Enoch. Christina Ellie. Enoch is all about spiritual warfare, the fallen angels, what they did, their judgment. God took Enoch into show in other places. It's not just about the Torah. It's about written directly to the remnant. Yeah, you got that right. And if anybody questions the book of Enoch, I encourage you, which this goes along here, I encourage you guys to go get right now. You get this for free. Where is it? My slides. Hang on a second, guys. I hate when this happens. I'm trying to get my slides up. Got all these windows open. So right now, if you go to nowyousee.tv.com, right? .org, I'm sorry. If you go to nystv.org, you subscribe to the network, and you don't even have to enter a credit card. You get 30 days free on me. Put Dan the Man. It's a lowercase one word, Dan the Man, and the promo code, and you get 30 days free, right? So in there, they have the complete series of the Book of Enoch. John Pounders and David Carrico went through 30 plus, I think 40 episodes or so far, whatever, of the Book of Enoch. Really, like going through it with a fine-tooth comb, matching with scripture. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm like, the only thing they found error was like, when it says Enoch was 500 years old, something like that, and Enoch only lived to 365 years old. It was actually Noah, you know what I mean? But other than that, it matches scripture to a T, and it talks about the end, the beginning of creation, down to the science of creation. It's crazy, more science than NASA, you know what I mean? Then it talks about the end days. And this is why the Kabbalists wanted the Book of Enoch going. You know what I mean? All these religions did, because it talks about Jesus, the Lord of Spirits, in the Book of Enoch, thousands of years before he's born in the flesh. Exactly how he's going to come, what he's going to do, when he's going to come back, and how he's going to punish the unrighteous and everything else to the letter. Okay, God showed him Sheol, all these different realms and everything else, and it is so fascinating, that Book of Enoch. And Enoch, and we're not talking about Cain's son Enoch. It's we'll talk about Enoch, the seventh from Adam. He was Noah's great grandfather. And yes, the Bible, the canonized Bible calls him a prophet. They said he was a man who walked with God and was taken up by God. Him and Elijah were the only two people in history that were taken up, raptured, if you want to call it, by God. So if somebody's raptured up by God, yeah, you got to be somebody of high significance, and not to be avoided. You know what I mean? So his book is in the Ethiopian Bible. You know what I mean? And it's their canon version. But the Book of Enoch is very significant. It talks about all the stuff we're talking about. All of it in detail. And when it comes to spiritual warfare, man, I agree, Christina. Enoch is probably one of the best books out there when they're dealing with spiritual warfare. Amazing book. Go ahead, Brian. Looks like you're ready to say something.
No, I was just listening to you, but
yeah.
I was just going to say the few people's dropped off, but we have 141 people watching. And what a blessing.
Yeah.
And I just want to give everybody a shout out for being here. And I hope everybody's enjoying the new time. I think it's been more enjoyable for everybody. And welcome to the second Spiritual Warfare Friday, second episode on the revamp. So it's a blessing for everybody to be here. So it really is. Yeah. It means a lot to me. So
Enoch was pre-tribulation. I don't know where you're getting that, Mark. Enoch pre-tribulation. No. This is pre-dual. I don't know, whatever. 401. Actually, hang on a second. Hey, caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Hey, it's me, Daniel. It's Daniel.
Hey, what's up, Daniel?
What's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
Oh, not bad.
How you doing?
I didn't mean to interrupt anyone.
That's all right. Glad you called.
So, I understand, like, you guys could do, like, a whole entirely different show with giants. I'm not a huge brain whiz with what you guys talk about, but I know that there's a few things here in Rhode Island, so I'll just share one quickly with you guys. There are actually multiple articles of the one that I'll share with you quickly. This one comes from NRI Now, and it's the story, the one in Burrillville. I think it's just as famous as the one in Cumberland. It actually does touch upon that one. I'll just quickly here. In the Victorian time period, skeletons of giant-sized human beings were reportedly discovered, one at Martha's Vineyard, obviously Mass, one in Cumberland, Rhode Island, the one that you guys were talking about, and the third in nearby Burrillville. Dan, I don't know, Dan, if you know about this one. I read about it years ago, and it was actually so in Burrillville, we had a portion of the Nipmuc tribe that the Nipmuc Native Americans they had a whole vast of land. I think it, if I'm not mistaken, it actually reached up into present-day Canada. But they were all the way down here. And where they settled is the Black Hut area in Burrillville. They called themselves the Black Hut tribe.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what the Europeans actually called them. But they found later on in the 1880s or 1870s, a skeletal remains were found of what was believed to be almost like a Native American god or some sort of leader. But yeah, it was massive. It's well documented, actually. But I mean, you could just look at some people that have been in recent history. I mean, Andre the Giant. That's not natural. You know what I mean? You have look at the basketball players. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have you have, I think there's some remnants of some, I don't know, maybe people could probably roll their eyes, towards me, whatever I say, as far as oh, maybe there's some sort of bloodline or something. I don't know, but you look at some of the basketball players, you look at people like Andre the Giant. There was a thing where the Germans in World War II, they had actually one of the tallest ever known soldiers to fight for the Germans. He was massive. I think he was well over 6'5" or almost 7 foot. So I mean, you had throughout recent history too, you've had what seems to be unnaturally tall humans. So it kind of begs the question, how do people get this tall when the average human being today is what? I mean, 5'8", maybe close to 5'10". So I mean, it is very interesting. But yeah, no, I just wanted to bring up that one that was in Burrillville too. I thought that one was very interesting.
That is cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Hey,
for sure.
Could you text that to me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can definitely.
I didn't know about the Burrillville Martha's Vineyard. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never read the one about Martha's Vineyard. That's actually the first time I'm.
Oh, wow.
When you guys were talking about it, and then you guys went off on a few other things, I started reading that particular article just now a little bit, and that's the first time I actually have heard of the Martha's Vineyard one. So, yeah, it's very interesting actually. Rhode Island has a lot of history, a lot of phenomena around Rhode Island that I guess just kind of flies underneath the radar because of how small we are. People kind of forget.
Yeah, the revolution actually started here.
Well, you're right. I mean, if getting back to, I guess, history, you wouldn't have a country. You wouldn't have the United States without Rhode Island. I mean, and people will ask why. Well, you had in the theater of war, in the New England theater of war, the British Crown actually wanted to seize Rhode Island. The main goal was to take Newport Harbor and come up and capture Providence and capture all of northern Rhode Island. People don't realize Rhode Island was the center of New England. It wasn't Boston, you know what I mean? It wasn't Connecticut. Rhode Island was the center. Rhode Island was grand back in the day. We were powerful. We had the money. We had the machinery. We had the makings of everything great here in Rhode Island. Of course, now that's all gone to gone to hell.
Yeah.
But so you had everything here in Rhode Island. Uniforms were made here. Firearms were made here. All sorts of supplies were made here. And the British knew that. The English knew that, and they wanted to seize Rhode Island. They tried. They occupied Newport. Okay, they blockaded the bay, and they invaded Aquidneck Island. Of course, Aquidneck Island was huge, obviously, well before the Revolutionary War. That was the Metacomet's home during the King Philip's War. His rock still exists. It's actually near what's that called? Roger Williams College. And so they invaded Aquidneck Island, and they were repelled back not once, not twice, but 3 times by the 1st Regiment of Rhode Island, which was an all-black regiment, was the first all-black regiment. Continental Congress gave the okay to have, blacks sign up voluntarily, and obviously if they didn't volunteer, folks who did own blacks or less fortunate could sign them over. And there is a memorial out there between Route 136 and 24, right at the tip of Portsmouth, that dedicates all the men there. It's kind of goes unseen. Unfortunately, it's behind trees and 2 stretches of roadway. But yeah, if the British were successful in taking Rhode Island, you'd still have an English accent today. Yep. So, and instead of actually taking Rhode Island, they turned around and I want to say it was Howe. He was the commander of the Navy, I'm pretty sure. And they instead of taking Rhode Island, they focused on New York City, at the time New Amsterdam. And they landed in New York City. Still today, the largest enemy amphibious landfall that we've had on our shores. They landed in New York City only for it to be burned down. The colonists laid waste to the city so that the British had nothing to occupy. And that was probably the turning point. That was 1778, 1779. Yep.
It's amazing, though. Like, all of it starts here. You wouldn't think because we were born here, and but it's crazy, man. And I don't know about those things on. I always knew about the Cumberland Monastery, the giant there, but on Martha's Vineyard, Burwell. But man, yeah, send me that article on the text there because I want to definitely probably try to go out to those sites too and see what's out there. Any markers or anything. That'd be pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
No, definitely. I know the area of Blackcut Tribe. It's a very popular hiking area. That's in the northern part of Burrville, so it's pretty desolate. It's pretty spread out as far as residents and whatnot. But it's cool. definitely a powerful place.
Yeah. Nice. So. Cool, man. Yeah,
thanks for the report. Yeah, thanks for calling in, for sure. That was really cool because I've heard, I've looked into the Indian mound narrative a lot, and there's a lot of Indians that they'll say it's a sarcophagus or a tomb, and it'll say, well, it was an Indian, but he was giant. And if you look at it, a lot of academia gets involved, then they start messing up everything, then they get into carbon dating, and then they get into, and then they'll literally, in some cases, they'll straight up tell you the truth and say, look, the dating of the so-called 5'11" average 5'5" human, and there'll be a giant in the middle of the mound, and they'll all be wrapped around the base of it, and they bury them in the mound because they're worshiping the entity that was in it, and they're all the same age, like they're in the same time frame. So it kind of disproves, like they talk about atmosphere and different things like that, and they'll say, well, the giants can't live here no more because of the atmosphere, or get into that kind of stuff, that narrative. But I've seen that. I've seen other documents that says a different different narrative. And then also newspapers. You can go to local, like in your local area, libraries or wherever you can get a hold of archives, and they'll take the newspaper clippings offline in some cases, but you can go to your local college or whatever, and they actually do have documents of being bones, giant men being found in the 1800s, 1700s, but they cover it up. They just cover it up, and then it's just sad. And if you go to New York Post or anything like that, you'll have to subscribe for like $1, and you can get some pretty good stuff. But they do a really darn good job of covering it up. But you can find archives of newspapers galore saying that they used to preach it, talk about who's on old Billy's land or on farm here, old Billy Joe or whatever, and say, hey, there's there's giants we found over there. He's trying to till and put some tobacco up, or corn or whatever the narrative is in farming, and they'll find giants everywhere. It's just it's mind boggling that that nobody cares. It just seems weird to me.
Yeah.
I do have a theory. Before I go, that Dan, in New England here, there are almost millions of miles of rock walls, right?
Yeah.
I mean that really, you can read history books and to see when we were documented, when we started settlements here and there and whatnot out throughout New England, but to really get a scope of how long these rock walls go for, right, and how much land, the vast land that they spread out for. I mean, rock walls were used for everything. They were used for property lines, roads, markers, setting the differences of cow pasture and food and whatnot. So, but you take into account, these had to have been built long before documented times that we read in history books today, right?
Absolutely.
They had to have been built very fast, very efficiently, and if you see some of these, there's still 90% of them that still exist today. How straight they are, and they're not small. They're not small pebbles. They're not, rocks the size of like your average couch pillow. I mean, some of these fieldstones are absolutely massive, and it kind of begs the question, especially if we did have some sort of lineage giants still around. I mean, you kind of have to, wonder. I mean, did they possibly help in construction with a lot of these early settlements?
I believe so.
And it just, I don't know, it just kind of makes you think. You know what I mean? I'm not saying maybe,
to elaborate
maybe
on
that's
that,
totally...
the fallen angels and the Nephilim had a big help in building the ancient cities. You know what I mean? With these megalithic stones and all that. You know what I mean? We understand they had methods of moving them, but they also had a part in that too. So we know they were they called them the Masons called them the great builders. And like the Nephilim, the help that the fallen angels built these ancient cities, and even today, that our best so-called construction science today couldn't even replicate those things. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, we have some pretty incredible pieces of I guess you could say natural artwork here ourselves.
Yeah.
And you you look at some of this stuff, with a crooked eyebrow, and it's, it just, when you talk about above average large human beings.
Yep.
I mean, it must have been a sight back in the day. I guess the average person was 5'1", 5'2".
Yeah.
I mean, to see somebody 6'5", I mean, they were a tower. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, like, some of these folks, and not to say a 6'5" human being is a giant, but to them, back in the day, and then who knows when so-called giants started to scale down in size, right, over the years, adapt or what have you. But, I mean, the strength that some of these larger humans had to have had, and the impact on possibly, help farm and help build some of these towns and whatnot. I don't know, man. It just makes you think. You know what I mean? It just kind of makes your brain work a little bit in a different direction. It's pretty cool stuff. But I'll let you guys go.
And they also
I just wanted to call in, say hi. How you doing?
All right, thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks for calling. I could talk all day about it.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you guys soon. You guys have a fantastic night.
You too, man.
I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys in the chat.
Yep. Later,
Be
brother.
blessed. Be blessed. Shalom.
Later, John.
All right, so I answer a couple questions quick. So I hope I don't mess up your name. Taekwon Unique Blessed says, how do you feel about speaking in tongues and mocky mock? Do you believe dinosaurs are real? So we'll get to Taekwon first. How do we feel about speaking in tongues? Well, here's the thing: it's not how we feel; it's how the Bible feels, or what the Bible says. And the Bible simply says, if the tongues, when somebody speaks in tongues, all right, and if you can't understand them or they're not edified, nobody can understand them and interpret them. They're not of God. You know what I mean? And because Satan uses tongues too. You know what I mean? And they use this with the Kundalini spirit. I want to do a whole show on this stuff, man. It's the crazy stuff. But yeah, if somebody speaks in tongues like that, and then you can't understand a darn thing they're saying, yeah, that's not of God. Yeah, at all. You know what I mean? Regardless what the charismatic churches teach today, that's definitely not of God. So tongues is something you could actually hear and interpret. And two, the other way tongues work too is just say if you got a person in front of you, so only could understand Spanish. This one could only understand Russian. This one could only understand Japanese, right? And if somebody talked in tongues, they should be able to hear that in their own language, fully understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? That's how the angels talk to the nations. You know what I mean? At the time when they split it up. So, but what the New Testament talks about, Jesus himself, I forgot what book it is, talks about if the tongues are not interpreted or nobody can understand them, they're just vain babblings. They're of the devil, plain and simple. That's what he says. Your thought, Brian?
Yeah, just like I was saying earlier, you know, I think interpretations and then like a lot of superstition and a lot of just ignorance of not, getting away from the Bible when they just think of flesh and they're just doing they're just doing man's traditions, right?
Yeah.
But the whole tongue thing, to answer that question, there has to be an interpreter, but it does speak about gifts of the tongue, like they're in the Bible, but there has to be an interpreter. But like Dan was saying, that's crazy stuff, and people falling over and they're doing like they're jumping, it's kind of scary. I'm not trying to be mean. I have seen it. I'm not putting it down. It just kind of scares me. And if I don't know what's going on, it has to be, where's the interpreter?
Yeah.
Like there needs to be somebody translating what the individual is saying. So it causes kind of chaos. It causes chaos. And, to me, I'm like, okay, I can't understand. So it's causing a scene. But I'm not trying to be mean. It's kind of, I don't know. It's just, it is babbling when you just babble a bunch of stuff and you're making a scene and you're kind of bringing attention to yourself in a way. And then you don't even, before you know it, what are we getting? Who's, then some people will say, well, you don't have the Holy Spirit because you can't interpret tongues. Well, everybody's got different gifts, And if you want me to answer the other question too, well, you're getting ready to answer that.
Absolutely. Go right into it.
Do you believe in dinosaurs are real?
Yeah.
To answer that, is that Marky Mark again? Bless you.
And
That's
Mark, you said it's demonic. The tongues, you're 100% right. If it's not edited, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just babble. It's babble. You're babbling words, and they're just demonic. It sounds demonic in some cases I've seen. But dinosaur theory. So here's what I got on the Marky Mark with the "Do you believe in dinosaurs were real?" Okay. Now I can't disprove what has been found. There's all kinds of data, like some dinosaur just recently was excavated that had splints, like a human interaction of a splint trying to help with broken bones. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I just heard it. So is it fact? I don't know. Is giants real? Yes. Did they manufacture the giants' bones and replicate some type of, build a 3D structure and put it up in a museum and say this is of the dinosaurs, but it could be of the Raphaim, it could be of the Nephilim, and they could have puzzle pieced a narrative. But I'll have to say this, based on what I've heard and seen. I've seen depictions of raptor claws. I've seen different data, like there's something in Africa. I think they still exist. These monsters, the behemoth in the Bible. There's all kinds of different creatures that the scriptures talk about. And then also with the, real quick, there's another narrative I've read and listened to and looked a lot into. So there is carvings and petroglyphs and hieroglyphics. I seen it a long time ago. It might have been 8 years ago, where they had people. And then it was supposedly pre-Adamic time, and they had like triceratops, like literally depictions of triceratops with a saddle on it, and a human. The depictions on rocks and stuff with a triceratops, what we would categorize as triceratop. So there's that. The other narrative is when you find a pterodactyl, and this is where you get into disproving a lot of stuff that science is saying. I think it was 1895, if I'm not mistaken. You can go look this up. I think it was in Wisconsin, if my memory serves me correct, and they had the pterodactyl. It was like a 90-foot wingspan, and ranchers, just a regular guy, 2 men out shooting, they shot this creature down, and it was a pterodactyl, what they would, categorize as a pterodactyl. So you have to look at that. And if there's creatures that are in the earth that are coming out, I can't disprove and say, well, I don't believe in the so-called dinosaur, but the name dinosaur didn't come around until
1841 by Sir Richard Owen.
So there you go. Thank you. I knew it was. I was going to say 1858, but
close.
But the word dinosaur didn't come around until then. So if we look at that, there's creatures that are in the book of Enoch. There's creatures that you can't even put in perspective, but they say, they shrink down just like they do with us, with the giants. They say, well, they've devolved or evolved and all these different types of smaller bodies, lizards and all this stuff. But I'm not really buying it. I know there's big alligators. There's huge, gigantic alligators in certain parts of the world. Heck, I've seen listen to this, guys. And I have looked this up, and I can't remember if it was on. I typed in one day, is there dragons? I think it might have been, I was goofing off with somebody's Alexa or something. I can't remember what it was. There was something, it might have been a Google, I might have just the Google Assistant. I asked, this is a while back, that if we're dragons, is there any dragons left? And it actually gave me, it said, there's 3 dragons left. Like it was they're very rare and all this, this explanation and talking about caves, like particular caves. I didn't get much into it because I thought, well, this is a joke. This was a while back, but I just kind of got a little irritated and aggravated with it. And I was like, come on now. But the whole dinosaurs, I have to say yay, but I have to say no to what they have displayed. Like what they have displayed, I think they are fabricated. I think, I think they're fabricated pieces. Some of them might be legit, but some of them I think are fabricated.
Yeah, because the Tyrannosaurus Rex, if I believe I'm right, they said, well, this is how it is, right? They found a few bones that they assumed was from a foot, right? So they constructed a whole dinosaur around a foot, a couple foot bones. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? You know what I mean? So we're not saying dinosaurs didn't exist. We're not saying that. We know because the Bible says there was large animals, big ones, giant ones, you know what I mean? And so we're not saying they didn't exist, but the thing is, the front, what they push, they saw the T-Rexes, with the short arms. How they know they had short arms? There's no proof of that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And what they look like in the museum, right? And all that, in the cartoons and all that. Those are literally fabricated by science. They said, right, this is a good cell. It was to push evolution. You know what I mean? So they took something of God, which actually these were genetic creatures. David Carrico said about this too. Some of these dinosaurs, the reason why they didn't survive the flood because, which I believe too, that a lot of these things were genetic. Because remember, the fallen angels, it wasn't just limited to the woman on earth. They were like genetically corrupting plants, animals, and everything else too. So a lot of these things, the dinosaurs were genetically created. You know what I mean? And so that's why God extinguished them in the flood. There was no meteor that came, comet, whatever. It was the flood that killed them.
You took the words out of my mouth, Dan. I was getting ready to say that. You're dead on.
And so that's what, and the thing is with the word dinosaur, 1841, that's where it came from, but they were always known as dragons. You know what I mean? They were known on all, all the ancients called them dragons. The Bible calls them dragons. That's where that comes from. There's no mythology about a dragon. These things are real. You know what I mean? Yes, some were fire-breathing dragons. You know what I mean? I know some people laugh at that. Oh, there's no such thing as unicorns and all that too. Oh, that stuff existed, guys.
In the Bible.
Yeah, Bible and all ancient cultures. This ain't out of somebody's imagination. You know what I mean?
We got old maps too. I got a map that I'm want to show one day.
And they constructed all these dinosaurs, right? The scientists put them, so-called scientists, evolutionists. It was a good sell for the kids. And every kid loves dinosaurs, right? The imagery and them, all that. So it was a good sell, okay, to what they actually look like. So we don't even know if T-Rex even existed. But we know there was giant creatures back then. We know they were carnivores, whatever the heck they were, you know what I mean? But I believe a lot of these things were genetically corrupted creatures. And that's, again, why God destroyed the earth, because he said all flesh was corrupted. Not just human, wasn't limited to humans, all flesh. Bugs, animals, everything. They genetically made this whole place a living nightmare mess, you know what I mean? And God took the pure animals that were left, put them on ark to protect the ark too. The book of Joshua talks about that too. When the waters were raising, people tried to take the ark by force, but the animals in the field guarded the ark from being hijacked, basically. You know what I mean? But my answer to my question too. That question, I mean, yes, they are real, but not in the way that science, so-called science, anyway, precedes them as. You know what I mean? That's my answer.
Absolutely, Dan.
And so there's another question here too. So let me get rid of that question. Oops, what happened here? Hang on a second. I just oops. Oh no.
I have to agree that the 6,000 to 10,000 years. That's kind of where I'm at with the age of the Earth.
Yep.
I'm kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
All right. So I did something. Yeah. How do you skip out of this full screen?
Oh, you got it popped out, Dan?
Yeah. Was that control escape?
Yeah. Control escape. That should be it. Yeah.
No, not working.
It's off. You got it off the screen.
Oh, there it is. All right. My bad, guys. I pushed the wrong button. That's what I get for pushing buttons. So, Stu Gotts, that sounds like you're Italian, huh? Stu Gotts 73. So anyway, you guys think the Bible says we're going to go through the time of Jacob's trouble all the way to the very end, and God's going to destroy the earth with fire? So basically he's asking if we're going to go through the time of Jacob's trouble and if the earth's going to be destroyed with fire, and that nobody's going to survive that. So you want to go first on that, or you want me to go?
You can go, Dan. You can go.
All right, so all right, so yes, we're going to go through those trouble, and probably worse, actually. To tell you the truth, I think it's going to be worse than Jacob's trouble. And for the pre-tribulation people, yes, we're going to be here for the Antichrist. Yes, we're going to be here to face the mark of the beast, and you're going to not take it at all, plain and simple. So, and yes, the world, because the thing is, like, in Matthew, when Jesus says, both talks about the commandments, and he goes, until all is fulfilled. You know what I mean? And that means, and he specifies in a new heaven and a new earth will be formed, right? So how does God cleanse the earth, right? He's going to cleanse the old earth here by fire. And yeah, nobody's going to survive it, because for simple fact, nobody's going to be here for that, because this is after judgment. When he gathers all his elect up, and then you got the people in judgment, right? The judgment, we're going to go from hell up to the judgment, to the lake of fire, right? Then you got the righteous all redeemed from the grave and everything else. So now you got this earth here sitting there with nobody on it at all, just dead carcasses and everything else, right? He's going to destroy, cleanse the whole. How do you cleanse something with fire, right? It purifies it. Mm-hmm. So he's going to destroy the world by fire. But the thing is, you don't have to worry about surviving it, because we're going to be with him, you know what I mean? Plain and simple. And he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth for us, you know what I mean? And to cleanse all that evil away, no evil's no more. So that is right. And and if we were here, nobody would survive that. Yeah, you're right. So if you want to,
I'm trying to remember where it was at, but look up your redemption draw. You look up your redemption draw now, endure to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do believe it's going to be destroyed with fire. Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people, there's going to be a remnant, at the end. I mean, I get it. And, that's kind of, a lot of people, I think the the whole rapture thing has gotten, we've all been defragmented kind of
Yeah.
thing, so it's hard to, we're like, well, we can't, like that question, no one will survive that, will they? Yeah, but it's a that's a deep question. I enjoy that question. I could,
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer it a little different than you did, but you took the words out of my mouth, so I'm kind of trying to figure out if I can word it to what I'm thinking. But I think you did a good job of explaining it. But there was something I was going to say, another scripture, and it has slipped my mind. I'm getting a little tired. I apologize, guys.
Yeah, we're
So
probably going to cutting off in a couple minutes here.
yeah, so I kind of lost my train of thought. But there was a scripture though. There was a scripture about that about the end. It's in Revelation. I just can't think of it right now, and I'm so sorry. It's
Don't apologize, man. It's
I'll
been a
tip my
long
toe.
week.
Well, no, it's a good question. I wanted to interact, so it's just yeah. I'm sorry I let you down on that one. That was a
No
good. That was a
worries,
good
man.
question, guy. That was a good question.
Yeah, because guys, this is like our main event for the week because we do shows and stuff all week long, and Friday night comes, we do this, and we just shut off until Sunday. You know what I mean? And which is great. I'm looking forward to it, to tell you the truth, man. And I got people texting me, "Oh, did you hear what happened on Saturdays and all that?" I'm like, I don't care. I have to tell people, don't bother me with the stuff on Saturday. I don't care if there's a nuclear bomb going off. You know what I mean? I want to enjoy the Sabbath. I just want to unlock from all the stuff. You know what I mean? Because 6 days a week, the Bible says to work for 6 days and a 7th day rest. And I try to do that. I rest on this, try to anyway on the 7th day. And, you know what I mean? And that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? So Friday nights here, the spiritual warfare is our main event of the whole week. And I don't even turn the thing on until Saturday night for the midnight ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah. So, guys, if you want to follow us, man, the links are in the description. Yeah, we got so much stuff we got coming up, man. I'm excited, especially I have Brian on board here. We got so many shows coming up, and so next week is his turn for the topic, and I'm excited for this one. I really am. So, guys, if you like the show, we got a PayPal, Venmo, and a Cash App. 3 different ways to support our ministry and operations. So any donation amount is great, guys, and it does go into everything. We're transparent with everything, man. It goes to pay the rent of the studio and all that stuff. And also, guys, check out Now You See TV, nystv.org, and free subscription for 30 days. Dan the Man is a promo code. So we thank you guys so much for joining us, and I enjoyed this show, I really did. And we could have spent so many hours more talking about the Washington Monument, but the Washington Monument here in America is the capstone symbol of basically the throne of Babylon. Right here in the United States, and like I said earlier, if you guys just joined us, a quick recap real quick. The Pope comes out, right, in the Vatican, right? He's in the building with the Capitol behind him, right? The dome, I mean. Stares directly at the obelisk and right in the middle of the Vatican, right? Addressing the people, right? The President of the United States comes out for his inauguration, right? The dome behind him stares directly at the obelisk, the monument, and addressing the people, you know what I mean? These are 2 Babylonian positions of power. Yeah, it's Old Babylon and New Babylon. All conjoining together. That's why the popes and presidents always all go hand in hand for some reason, you know what I mean? Because they're the rulers of Babylon, plain and simple. The rulers of the free world, you know what I mean? And so for now, until Jesus comes back. So, so you want to close out in prayer, Brian? Or you?
Yeah, I think I can.
If you want, I could do it. It's up to you.
No, I can do it. I think I can do it. It's all good. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this broadcast. Thank you for Brother Dan here. Thank you for everybody that's in the chat, and then everybody that's stuck with us for like 3 hours and something. And I know there's a lot of people hurting in the chat, and especially last week with Miss Ann. I remember everybody calling in. We need to pray for her, for an intestines and all that. So, and I pray everybody has a good week. I pray everybody has a good Sabbath. I pray for healing, and I pray for everybody that needs financial issues or whatever their needs being taken care of. And I know that you have the power to move puzzle pieces together, and we just thank you, Father, for the many blessings. Thank you for allowing us to draw breath and just enjoying this, able to even have this life and being part of just this channel and being part of this, just the fellowship with everybody. And thank you for everybody that's support me and Dan. And it's just a blessing. And I thank you, Father, for all that you do. In Jesus' name, I ask all these things. Amen.
Big amen. Thank you. Yeah, Brian, that was awesome, man. And I enjoyed the show very much. And yeah, so even though we talked about bad stuff, but I love exposing the deeds of evil. I really do. It's just, I have a passion for it, man. And a lot of study went into the show this week, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, guys, and thank you guys for the questions in the chat room and all that. And if I didn't answer your questions, guys, me or Brian, please do me a favor. Go into the comments section, X out of the live chat. Go into the comments section and put them in the comments. Me and Brian will get to them. All right. So thank you all for everything, and thank you for the phone calls and all that good stuff. So, as we say all the time, God bless, shalom, and you are the resistance for the Lord.
Shalom.